Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 300 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Jordan Willis.
And my name is David Howe.
And everyone is here. It's the five of us.
We're all
and
here.
Just like Smash Ultimate.
This is our 300th episode. We're going to be talking about multiple Nintendo Directs, including the Switch 2 Direct that just happened today. Oh my gosh. So much to talk about. We love a breaking
podcast.
So much to talk about from just that Direct, but there's another Direct we got to talk about at least a little bit too. So we're going to be talking about that, and we're also going to be talking about the podcast itself. We got a few questions from some folks, and we've got some folks in chat. And but before we do anything else, how is everyone doing? How are we doing this week?
Oh boy, I'm doing pretty good, man. Sorry, I'm trying not to look at everything live right now. This is very new for us. We've done it before, but it's always scary. So please bear with us. Bear with me specifically. But I'm doing good. I'm having a great time. It's great to see you, Matt. Oh God, you're a sight for sore eyes. You're a beautiful man. Other than that, it's been just like a pretty great week. What did I do? I mean, yesterday I went and saw Mulholland Drive in the movie theaters, in the cinema. So that was a pretty nice time. Enjoyed that. And then, I've just been kind of like trying to do work today, but just daydreaming about the Nintendo Switch 2 pretty much all day, trying to decide if $80 is truly too much for a video game. I'm sure we'll be getting into all of that as this progresses. But yeah, that's been me. What about y'all?
I'll go. Things have been good. I was in Ohio last week, just hanging out with family, doing the thing there, taking care of family. I've also been good. I host a storytelling. I've talked about this before, a storytelling show here in Austin. It's growing. We had 4 middle schoolers tell true stories for the first time. And they just killed it. Way better than the adults. We had 5 adults and 4 middle schoolers. At about 400 people here in Austin, and I was just so proud. Took a little while to kind of make that show happen, but I was still riding that high from that show from March 22nd.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yesterday was my birthday. Shout out to me.
Happy birthday, Jordan!
Happy birthday!
I was
also
really
happy birthday, Kuroseta, too.
Yes,
birthday is today.
So I had a nice dinner. Still at work, because I'm an adult, and had a nice dinner. Got a couple good presents, and watched some Twin Peaks: The Return. We're knee deep in the Twin Peaks. I finished The Secret History of Twin Peaks, the Mark Frost book. I've watched all of the original series. I've watched Fire Walk with Me and The Missing Pieces. So The Return is the last piece. Well, and then I'll listen to the final dossier at the end, of course, for my Twin Peaks heads.
This is the David Lynch podcast
now. Would not be opposed. Anyway, so doing all right, keeping my head above water. What about you, Patrick?
Oh, I am okay. I've just been working a lot. Today was the first day that wasn't super long, but I had to come home and watch the Direct and now get ready for this. So I think this is the least prepared I've been for a Direct episode. I have only watched it once, and I not looked at all the stuff that everybody was talking about. I tried to furiously scan the Discord for all the price and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm doing pretty good. What about you, Summer?
I was gonna say that's okay because I watched it live and then I watched it again and then I watched specific trailers because there are some trailer uploads that are different from what was in the Direct as well. But anyway, I'm doing good. I just got back from the Dominican Republic. That's where I was for almost the past week. Yes. One of my best friends got married and I officiated the wedding. So yeah, folks who subscribe to our Patreon were able to see photos from my trip. Right? So subscribe. Yeah, that was I was just on the beach a lot. ate food, drank too much. It was good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very nice. Well, shout outs to everyone in chat. Thanks everyone that's here
Hey.
joining us. I'm gonna try to list off some folks I'm seeing. I saw AVK, I saw Cena, Robo Lettuce, Ray, DCD, Medium Quality, Adam Rach, Emma, lots of people. Austin, good to see you too. Whom else did I miss? I might have missed a few folks. Hat Stack Mike.
You say yes.
Us versus the man. Anybody I missed? I'm sorry. I think that's most of y'all. Carrie, there you are too.
I do want to answer right off the bat a question that we did get in chat, which is what were my thoughts on the box that the little old people crawl out of at the end of Mulholland Drive? And I got to say, for it. Definitely got the biggest laugh of the entire night. Big fan of that little blue box and that little blue key. It's got me painting a bunch of boxes in my house to see if the same thing happens to me.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us here. And anybody I missed, I'm really sorry. I think I got most of y'all though, but I really appreciate everyone joining
I would like
us.
to thank everyone, every game in 51 Worldwide Classics. Clubhouse Game Run. I would like to thank Not Dice for 4 in a row, Backgammon, Renegade, Checkers.
You should think it because it's getting an immediate update with the Switch 2.
That's true.
I know.
Yep.
Man,
Incredible.
Okay, I know we're jumping ahead here, but when Clubhouse Game 51 Worldwide Classics got a shout out in the Switch 2 Direct of all things, I just about lost my shit. That was definitely a highlight of the day for me.
Seriously, first game that they show off to like demonstrate local game share and to say it is getting a free update. It's fate.
Nintendo knows peak.
Well, all of you folks here on YouTube, thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already, hit like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this after the fact, thanks for listening and joining us on this 300th episode. And go to YouTube and hit like and subscribe. And we've got a Patreon if you want to help support the podcast. And we appreciate all the ways that everybody out there in chat and listening to this has been a part of this community and helped support us so far. So thank you for that. You got us here to 300.
That's true.
Yeah.
Also, can we give it up real quick, just everyone in the chat, for Patrick for holding down over 300 episodes of this podcast. I'm sure if you haven't listened to last week's episode and you're not aware, this is Patrick's final show as a every week guest on the podcast. He's dying after this. We're putting him. He's actually his next job is as a crash test dummy for Cybertrucks. So he is on his way out. But no, it's been so amazing having you on this podcast, and I just hope everybody I know everybody loves you, and it's been so great having you. So I hope this episode goes out with a bang.
That makes me also want to just say before we move on from this sort of shout out portion too, thank you to everyone who wrote really nice things about me on our Discord, and a couple of people sent me private messages as well, but I don't have a list, but honestly, whether you said something small or long, it really meant a lot to me, and it is really nice to read and kind of amazing. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
All right, but we're going to move on. We got a lot of directs to talk about, and I don't like having focus on me. So we're moving on to talk about the direct that happened on March 27th. Wasn't that a long time ago?
It really does feel like a lifetime ago. Yeah.
So a week ago, right? Less than a week ago, actually, there was I guess we're calling it, what are we calling the Switch 1? Or did they even really have a term for it? In this Switch 2 Direct, did y'all notice?
I mean, it's just the Nintendo Switch.
Oh,
you know,
geez.
it's like Nintendo will always just. They're not going to like.
They're
not going to say anything that is like a colloquialism. You know what I mean?
I mean, the PlayStation eventually became the PS1. It didn't come out as the PS1.
If there's 3 Switches, maybe they'll do that. Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, the point is they had a Direct that was focused on the Nintendo Switch. And that we got to see a bunch of games. I don't think that we are going to step through every game shown off because a lot of them got mentioned again. And because we got a lot to talk about in the Switch 2 Direct. But we are going to kind of maybe hit some of the big first party highlights and then give some space for some of the other stuff. But just maybe before we get into even the big first party highlights, how did y'all feel about this Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch?
I was
Anybody wanna
fine.
go first? Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. I guess for an end of life cycle. I think if I didn't know the Switch 2 Direct was coming so quickly after, I would have been more disappointed personally. But I mean, it makes sense that it's a lot of remakes or re-releases or HD remasters or, and a few trickle in games. But I did absolutely love seeing some more of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond or Metroid Prime Beyond 4. Anyway, whatever. Looks sick. Samus's third eye open, ready to go. But yeah, how did y'all feel about it?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, there were some really hype, like David announcements in here. Like Rhythm Heaven was really hype, and we'll talk about these more in detail in just a second. And then, but also obviously Tomodachi Life at the end was incredibly hype. I've been wanting a game in that series or a remake or something for so long. But it felt like all of the ones that I was really excited for were 2026 games, which like as soon as I saw those dates, kind of all the excitement I was feeling about those games, kind of the wind got taken out of my sails, right? So I think even though there were some really hype announcements, I can't really put it any higher than like a C for me. I know we usually give those at the end, but it was a little mid for me, which doesn't matter because there was an incredibly hype direct like less than a week later, right? But yeah, for the fact that this is an 8-year-old system that they're still doing stuff that's even worth a C is exciting. It's still better than most state of plays.
I think my general response was loved, similar to Jordan. I just love seeing more Metroid Prime 4. Just love seeing more Samus. Just any kind of more of that world. I love what Nintendo's kind of building there. It feels a little bit fresh and new. I love all the new colors. And then I think my biggest response to this Nintendo Switch Direct and Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is there's like tons of third-party support like across the board. There's just so much, and I think that's a really good sign for another possible 8 years for the Nintendo Switch 2.
Awesome. I agree with everything everybody said. This felt like a C for me as well. But also I was like, at the end, I was like, oh, whatever. There's more to come. So let's talk about the big first party stuff. And then if there's anything else anybody wants to talk about, we can. But the first party thing didn't open the Direct, which was interesting, right? They opened with the Dragon Quest remakes. But the first thing we saw from a Nintendo development studio was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And I guess we got to see a lot more of this game, and like I think you just said, Matthew, the colors. Like I wasn't, it was a lot more outside and colorful than maybe I was, or at least the previous trailer, which was cool. And also, I have to just interject and say this too. Like they didn't give us a date, and that was kind of surprising. And
they didn't give us a date
weird.
In either Direct, which I thought for sure we would get it in the Switch 2 Direct, right?
Yeah, because it's coming at launch with the upgrade or something. But no, we still just have 2025, which probably means they're still working on it. What I don't know. Maybe that's getting ahead of ourselves. But let's talk about that trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous. It's definitely, man, it's really cool doing a live episode because I can actually watch the video as you're putting it in summer. But sorry for that. Yeah, it's, it was really exciting to see actual gameplay of this game and to kind of learn the hook, right? This kind of whole psychic abilities thing seems to be at least one of the new kind of facets of this game that's going to make this a unique Metroid Prime experience. So that's kind of cool. It did definitely feel like they are still holding a lot close to the chest. Like I think everything we saw in this trailer is like from the first, 30 minutes of the game or something like that. It seems like, I feel like what we saw before in that first teaser was like the very opening of the game. And then like what we saw here is like the very first area of the game. Right. So that's cool. And I feel like there's going to be a lot more. We got a little bit of a tease at the end with that new like Samus suit, which comes out in like the kind of red suit. Like that was actually pretty fucking sexy. But I think, I don't know. My other takeaway here was that it was like surprisingly vaginal. There was a lot of like, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It was like, it was very like Giger-esque in that a lot of the things they were looking at were very like, I don't know, You know what I mean? Like there was stuff in it where I was like, this is kind of gross and like very un-Nintendo like, but I think it's kind of cool that they're kind of going back to some of that alien route with some of the like, sci-fi sexual imagery of like the environments. Maybe I'm reading a bit too much into that.
Nope.
Please. But yeah, anyway, that was my takeaway.
I think I'm really excited for this in particular to see, the expansion of Samus's abilities because, a lot of the games have the same kind of upgrade pattern. I feel like they did a good job in Dread of kind of like adding a couple of new things to the meta, but just like adding a whole layer of psychic abilities opens up the possibilities for the different abilities to explore the world in and puzzle solving abilities. So I'm really like, that's what I'm honestly most excited for in this game. Also lore implications, because I would love to know where this takes place in the timeline, if it's in line with the other Prime games where it's like still slotted right in that space between, I think it's 2 and 3. I could be wrong, but I want to say it's 2 and 3. So anyway, I'm just like really curious to see like, what's this? Yeah, I just want to see more. And I think, David, I think you're right. I think it is just the first like section of the game. So I feel like there's still so much to be seen, and there's going to be multiple suits. So yeah, we're getting one suit, so I'm just curious to see what the rest of it's going to look like.
Speaking of lore, the lore head is back on the pod, everyone. That's me.
True.
We're on a brand new planet in Metroid Prime. It's like Theros. Never seen before in a Metroid game, and we have like a new this race calls Samus the Chosen One, and so I wonder what the lore implications are there. Like, what are their beliefs system? It's not Chozo. It's maybe a new religion, and wonder how that connects to the greater kind of Metroid story and kind of how it all connects to everything. Usually comes back to Samus in some way or the Chozo in some way, and I'm very curious of what that connection will look like and what it will be.
Yeah, yes, dude, I'm so there for it. Also, I just wanted to quick correction because we're live. Prime takes place between Metroid and Metroid 2.
Hell yeah. There's a lot going on then in that period. A lot of these games. Summer, how did this look to you? I know you're not a huge Metroid fan, but like, is this something that you think might get you excited to play the series?
Maybe I don't know. So yeah, looking at it from a complete outsider, no, sorry. Like, it literally just looks like another first person shooter, and like you said, very vaginal. Oh, if you didn't know that Samus was a woman before, you're definitely gonna know now. So yeah, sorry guys. Like, I'm not trying to be a hater. I just like, it means nothing to me.
It's all
None
good.
of this means anything to me.
It's fine. I hate Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's cool.
Well,
That's
let's
cool.
move on, 'cause
It looks ugly.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
maybe the
I get
next
it, yeah.
maybe the next first party thing Summer will have something to say about, and that was we're skipping some of the non-Nintendo stuff, but Pokemon Legends ZA got another look. Though, correct me if I'm wrong here, it
100%.
seemed like mostly footage we have already seen, and also not dated.
So, no, it was mostly new footage,
Oh, okay. I guess it all just looks the same to me.
which is
Yeah,
fine.
that's true.
That's fine.
It all looks the same to a Pokemon hater like Patrick. Yeah.
Correct. I acknowledge that. We got an update of like what ZA actually means. Which I have mixed feelings about. So ZA is a ranking system within whatever battle system, that we've got going on. We did get confirmation of like the battle system being more of like an ATB kind of Final Fantasy action turn-based, which is the refresh that Pokemon absolutely needs. I think that really is gonna make things feel more lively while still maintaining the turn-based combat that makes sense, but adding like the timing element to it. And I don't know. I think it looks a lot better. I was a little disappointed that the ZA isn't more of a lore focused reason, and maybe it still will be.
It still could be, yeah.
It's still right. It still could be. They might just be holding on to that part because that was something that a lot of us really did miss from Pokemon X and Y, was never getting a true third entry that should have been a bigger lore reveal. So still, holding out for that. And based on the first Pokemon Legends game, hopefully we can expect that here.
Yeah, I loved Pokemon Legends Arceus. I thought that game was probably my favorite Pokemon game I've played in a really long
Me too.
time. And I think I liked it because it was kind of Breath of the Wildy, where it was like you can go anywhere. I mean, there were like zones you go into or whatever, but it really was like you traverse this whole open landscape and there are Pokemon like wandering around. I think the fact that this is like set in a city kind of like diminishes a little bit of my excitement for this game, weirdly, because like the wild areas are kind of just arbitrarily fenced in areas. Like it seems like they're mostly tied to parks or whatever, which is cool, but just like lore wise, it doesn't make as much sense as it was when you're like in ancient times, like hunting wild Pokemon, like it's a Monster Hunter game or something, right? So I think to me, I think just the setting of this game, even though like I am a city boy and I like that kind of stuff, it just seems to like be at odds with the Legends formula. But you know, that's also very much something that we'll see what it actually turns out like, because you know this could really go any number of ways. This could be an amazing game with like kind of so-so graphics, or it could be another kind of mid Pokemon experience, or it could be something really special, you know. So I'm excited to hear more about this, but I don't know that I'm going to be like a day one leap of faith purchaser on this Pokemon game myself.
Yeah. Sorry, Jordan.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I probably will be a day one person, especially like not to jump the gun, but we know that we're getting a Switch 2 version of it. So,
yes.
And it honestly, based on that trailer, I already thought it looked a lot better.
Yeah.
And again, not trying to jump the gun here. I think we've got a lot to look forward to actually now with Pokemon. So, I think it looks great. And again, based on somebody who did enjoy X and Y and the lore with them, I do think the city makes sense. I think Lumiose is meant to be a massive city. But Jordan, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, basically, I think this game's going to really live or die by like how varied the districts in the city are, because so far every piece of footage I've seen, the city and the buildings look samey. And so it makes me think like either a lot of this city is just going to be a lot of repeated building textures, and that's going to be kind of boring. But that doesn't really strike me as the MO like for this type of game, especially after Arceus. Like they put a lot of love into every different area being distinct. So I think that's what I'm really more curious, and I want to just wait and see more. Like I'm going to get this game regardless because Arceus really surprised me and I really enjoyed it. So knowing that I'll be able to play like the upgraded version with probably a little bit better frame rate and graphics on Switch 2 is incredible. But yeah, I think that's what's really going to come down to is like how varied are the environments that you're traveling through. And I feel like it's going to be interesting to see how they build out like an open world with this as well. So curious.
All right, well, the next big first-party announcement was for Rhythm Heaven Groove. I just want to give a shout-out to our episode on which franchises would come back for Switch 2 era, and Rhythm Heaven was high up on the list, right?
Hell
And
yeah.
here it is.
And the haters said it wouldn't happen.
I don't know that anybody did.
Actually, I don't know if they did it. They said Star Fox wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
which we have seen neither hair nor
It's
breadth of.
kind of true, I guess. So yeah. But David is our resident Rhythm Heaven expert and fan. What did you think about what we saw so far? You already kind of hinted that with the 2026 date, that was a little bit of a bummer to hear and see this so soon. But any other thoughts?
I mean, this trailer was not for me. This trailer seemed like it was for people that have never heard of the franchise before. It was like showing the very basics of it. It's like, it's a rhythm game. You play with one button, and it literally showed a man's hand or a person's hand, like actually clicking the one button, like as you know, in rhythm and stuff like that. So, you know, it's very early yet. I feel like this game is not one of those games that Nintendo has on the shelf for a long time. And they're just like, I don't think they're holding it till next year arbitrarily. I think they're still working on this game, right? Because we didn't see like a ton of footage. We saw like a couple scenarios. This is probably Intelligent Systems. They're the company that usually makes the Rhythm Heaven series. So I'm sure they've also got multiple teams and their hands full on probably a Fire Emblem game, maybe another Paper Mario game. So I imagine that this one is definitely still in active development. But, you know, it's great. I mean, you know, you always worry with a lot of these classic franchises, you know, that might just be it. And maybe Nintendo's moved on. And the fact that they're going back to the well of Rhythm Heaven, and it seems like just a straight up sequel and a new entry into the franchise gets me really excited. Anybody else really excited for this game?
Yeah, I want to go ahead and say that I was watching the direct with the volume turned on all the way up with all of my friends in the airport on our way getting ready to board for the Dominican Republic. And this was the first game that made us all go, me and my group of friends, we were like, new rhythm heaven. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right that this did feel like an intro. And it's funny, I watched both of these directs actually with my kid for the first time, like us watching them together. And I think he's the perfect person for them to introduce. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he grew up with the Switch and he's 10 and has never seen a rhythm heaven game. You know what I mean? So like, and I think that makes sense. They really were trying to kind of show what this franchise is about and that sort of thing. But yeah,
I think there's more that we could maybe say at the very end of this first direct discussion here, but it's like, I think when I saw 2026, it was like really like, oh shit, like Nintendo is going to be supporting Switch 1 for a long time. And like, why wouldn't they? You know, it kind of makes sense for a game like this, for a game like Tomodachi Life, that it does not matter if those games are 120 frames per second or 4K or whatever. Games that could easily still be on that old hardware. It's kind of interesting. Like, we're kind of in a way going back to the two pillar thing of like handheld Nintendo and console Nintendo, right? It's like, you know, for at least the next year, you know, there will be games that are kind of lower spec that are maybe flourish in handheld mode, you know. So I would imagine that we'll be seeing a lot more games that would have been in franchises that would be relegated to like 3DS or Game Boy Advance or something like that go to Switch 1 and not to the new system, right?
and they'll cost $60.
Yeah. Instead of 70 or 80 even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to have at least one more big holiday season for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next first party sort of thing, which was not necessarily a specific game, but was the virtual game card system, which I think when I first watched it, I was a little bit yelling at the screen, like, what is this? This is worse. But then the more I kind of read about it and understood about it, I was like, oh, this actually does solve some problems that I specifically have now that I better understand it. But I think they didn't do the best job explaining it. Maybe, but the virtual game card system is, I guess, a solution now that people have multiple Switches to be able to sort of check out games on different Switches, right? If I'm not explaining this right and somebody wants to jump in, please do. But as somebody who owns multiple Switches, where you can only have a primary account, and then if you take one of your secondary Switches somewhere away from your house, for example, and you want to play a digital game, that can be frustrating because you have to connect to the internet. So like if you go somewhere, I don't know, on a trip or something with your secondary Switch, which I do because my primary Switch is the original Switch, which has got a terrible battery now and doesn't really work. I find myself sometimes having to preload games or, try to do a hotspot on my phone or something just to do this. And theoretically, this will solve that, as I understand it. And I don't know if there's any other explanation or benefits or anything or downsides that anybody knows about that they want to share.
Yeah. I mean, I was really worried when I saw this because I do a lot of like kind of under the table game sharing already on the Switch, like if you've got multiple people signed into your console, like you can play their copies of the game as them, especially if you like go into airplane mode and do some sketchy shit. But it's like been a really good way, especially for this podcast, for us to play a lot of new releases without all having to individually buy a copy of the game. Nintendo, if you want to fix that, you could send us codes. We'd love that. We know you're watching right now. Nintendo in the chat, sound off. But so I was really worried. I was like, man, they're cracking down on that. Is like what it seemed to me, that they were like kind of just like putting in DRM where it didn't need to be. But then further looking into it, this is entirely optional. Like you can not have this option turned on entirely, or you can. Or even better than that, you can have this option turned on and still share games and do primary, secondary console play the way that you always did, right? So it feels like it is a net positive. Now that after I've like looked into it for a bit, it doesn't seem like they're doing it out of spite or to like crack down on people sharing or anything. It seems rather the opposite, that they're trying to be a little bit more judicial, or I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I'm saying. They're trying to be a little more, giving with some of this stuff. And yeah, and it's high time, like I think Steam has been kind of eating Nintendo's lunch when it comes to game sharing for a really long time. So that's exciting to see, and it's cool to just see the Switch 1 continuing to get new features like this, like this far into its life, right?
And I assume that's partly why they're doing this too, because they assume that if you buy a Switch 2, maybe you will be wanting to do some of this. And then also you kind of hinted at this, David, but I don't know if we explicitly said this, but I think you can share games with people in your family now.
Yeah,
correct.
Using this system for 2 weeks or something like that. And then it comes back, and then
like
you get it to them again. I don't know, but so yeah, I know a lot of us are in family quote unquote groups with each other. So this might be another way. Yeah, Matt, you can you can check out my games.
Yeah,
and vice versa, a little more easily even than if you're in the same family, possibly.
I'm really excited about this because finally got our family a little more figured out with basically all of my best friends, and we've already got a spreadsheet going, figuring out how who's gonna buy which games and who already has what. So
wow. Yeah. I mean that to me actually fills me with a little bit of anxiety, because I'm like a Switch daddy. I've got the family plan, and yeah, Jordan, you're on mine, which is very nice.
Thanks, Daddy.
But it kind of means that you're welcome, my son. That's the kind of shit we get into on episode 300, maybe. But it's like I feel like it's before it was kind of arbitrary who was on your family plan. Like it didn't really matter, because there wasn't much that. It was just like a cheap way to have NSO, right?
Now
now it's actually like, yeah, now it's like Family Matters, and it seems like that's going to be even more of a thing with Switch 2. So it's like I might have to have a hard talk with some of my kids and see who stays and who goes, and see if we do a little reshuffling here. Because there's definitely, I'm not trying to shout anybody out, but there are like some people on my family plan that I don't even really know them in real life, and I haven't talked to them in like 5 years.
We kind of had a similar thing when we were like, but this was before this got announced, that we were like, there are people now that we like talk to more, and that it would be more worthwhile for them to be on our family plan. And we're like, we're going 100%. To quietly kick people off that like have not spoken to us in 2 years, like that kind of thing.
Well, let's move along to the next big Nintendo announcement. We're skipping over a bunch of games, but that's okay. And that is Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. Another 2026 date given here. But still pretty cool to see, right? Anybody got any thoughts on this fun and weird trailer?
It was so funny because, again, a lot of the friends that I was with, I immediately went and dug up all of my old screenshots from the original one of like these people that I had made in my original Tomodachi Life how many years ago, of like their percentage compatibility rate with like each other from years ago. I am one of those dorks who absolutely love this stupid game, mostly because I just like made me's of all of my friends, made me's of all of our favorite characters, and like made them all marry each other. It's silly fun. God, I'm really looking forward to this. Kind of love the glow up that the Mii's have gotten, not gonna lie. Love to see that Mii's are also not dead. Kind of makes me hopeful for the future of Mii's in general as well.
There's a lot of Mii's in this presentation. They were showing off Mii's when they were talking about game cards or virtual game cards and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, seems like there's maybe, I don't know if they were teasing this, but 10 years ago they were talking about adding same-sex relationships into Tomodachi Life. So there definitely was seemed like there was a woman dreaming about another woman in this, and I was like, okay, great, maybe that is like a little hint at that. I don't know if that is true, but
yeah, my timeline was literally just full of people saying, but can you be gay though? Like as soon as this trailer went live.
Are the sapphics finally represented? But yeah, I'm so beyond pumped for this, and like you said, I'm any game that has a big me focus, I'm going to be really excited about because I love Mii's. I think my Mii looks exactly like me, and that's why I love Mii's. I think I just have made the perfect Mii like 10 years ago, and I've been rocking it ever since, but longer than that actually. But you know, I mean, Tomodachi Life is such a fun game. And, you know, I was a big Miitomo fan, which was kind of like a mobile spin-off of Tomodachi Life in a way. So it was very great to see this. It was fun that the trailer started with just a Mii farting on a beach. It's just like a little taste of like some of the style of humor that you'll be getting from this game. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great social experience on the Switch. I just wish it was coming out this year and not 2026, right?
Yeah.
Just anything to keep the Sims off a Nintendo family of systems. Like as soon as I saw this, and then the other one, I was like, oh yeah, Nintendo's never gonna put the Sims out on any Nintendo system ever again, which I just thought was kind of hilarious. But I never played the original because I don't know. I was like, I'm an Animal Crossing boy. So, but this one with the fart opening, I was like, I'm in.
It's definitely,
it's got a really weird sense of humor.
It's an
Tomodachi
acquired
Life.
taste for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
It's absolutely that Nintendo whimsy though that I know I've spoken previously on the podcast about being worried that it was dead. Seeing this being like their closing game, I was like, we are so back.
Yeah.
Matt,
Really
how
makes
did
me
you
hope-
feel about the fart? I need to know that.
How did I feel about the fart in Tomodachi Life?
Yeah.
I didn't remember it until Jordan mentioned it, so I was
All
like,
right,
"Oh
sorry.
yeah, that happened."
Forgettable.
Sorry, David.
forgettable
What were
fart.
you? David,
It's
what
all
were you
good.
saying?
I mean, you're asking the important questions, Patrick. That's why we're going to miss you on the show.
What about
sure.
everyone in the chat? How did everyone in the chat feel about the fart?
Well, Red Jefferson, first of all, what's up, Red? Says fart is key. And so, I mean, I agree with that I fuck with that pretty heavily.
True.
Yeah, as a what's the word? Whatever. This is what happens when I don't edit the show, is you get a bunch of those. No, but I'm super excited for this. It looks really great. And yeah, wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
The fart was essential. Definitely.
Mhm.
Bar is art.
Yeah.
Well, the final announcement in this direct was not a game, but we got to see Miyamoto come out and talk about a new Nintendo app called Nintendo Today, which is basically Nintendo's way to deliver news directly to you now in the age of social media fracturing us into different spheres. I think. I think that's their answer, but, and also maybe to just have a way to directly say stuff to folks. But so Nintendo Today is the app that I immediately went and downloaded because I was watching this with my kid, and he's like, "Download it right now." And
I want news every day from Nintendo directly to me.
And I don't know, have y'all been paying attention to this? They have used it to some effect, right? They announced the Zelda movie date,
The next
another thing that's
day.
not coming for
Yeah.
years. But I don't know. Are you tired of more apps?
I think it was hilarious that one of David's predictions was an update to the Nintendo app, and he was right. But it was just like another app. I was like, why isn't this just a part of the Nintendo Switch app that already exists? Like, it seems so silly to make this a completely separate app and not just update the one we already have. I get that it's part of your Nintendo Switch Online subscription as that app, and they want to probably have those like be bespoke apps in case you're not an NSO subscriber. But I'm like, what a great way to sell NSO is if you make people download this app that has the news in it, but then also a section where you can subscribe to NSO right in the app. Like this, I don't know. It's just like so bizarre. They made me download another app, and I only downloaded it because it was my birthday and I wanted to see if it did something fancy, which it kind of did, which was kind of nice. But
It said happy birthday to you.
it did. It was it worth the price of admission of $0? I still don't think so, but I don't know.
I don't know. To me, this is just Nintendo being like, man, we are like so getting ready to be done with Twitter. You know what I mean? I think first of all, it'd be really great if Nintendo officially joined Blue Sky. That would solve a lot of these problems. But I think that Nintendo does not want to have to rely on any social media platform to get their news out. And the fact that they're dropping news, they've been still dropping stuff on their Twitter account, but it's like they'll start on the Nintendo Today app and then everybody will spread that news for them on social media. Like that's how I'm interacting with Nintendo Today right now, is I see people screenshotting Nintendo Today on Blue Sky, and that's kind of just like how I'm getting my news from Nintendo now. I haven't turned on notifications for this app, or I haven't really messed with it too much myself. But I think this just shows, that they are trying to kind of build something on their own for news specifically, but I think that this could turn into something else. I think, if they're getting news out through their own social media, it's not really social media, but their own kind of platform here, maybe this could kind of turn into not like a Miiverse necessarily, but something where people can post their own stuff to Nintendo Today. Maybe they're just trying to be rid of APIs in general, right? Like, they got really burned when Elon Musk, made the X API, way, way more expensive, to where it no longer made sense for Nintendo to have the ability to post photos directly to Twitter. Maybe they start doing that with this app, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. But to your point, Jordan, I think that Nintendo Music, Nintendo Switch Online, and Nintendo Today, there's no reason that those are 3 different apps. I would love to see a future where, especially if they're trying to have some sort of Miiverse alternative like there used to be, they kind of take all of these things and sort of put them into one unified app. But this is the same Nintendo that has an N64 and an N64 mature app on the Switch for Nintendo Switch Online, so I'm not holding my breath for that.
Any sign of a fart in the Nintendo Today app?
Not to
I
my
didn't see it.
knowledge.
I did hear whenever Miyamoto came out, I heard a little toot
Okay.
from him. Yeah, it might have been that.
I-
He's getting kind of old.
I suppose it's possible if when Tomodachi Life comes out, they do a Tomodachi Life theme within the calendar app. And if you choose a theme, then every single day you do get a different little animation at the top of the app with the day. So, in a year or so, we could certainly see the fart in the app. I'm all in on this. Sorry, guys. Already, I set the widget up immediately on the home screen of my phone. I would love it if I could just use this for my personal calendar and continue to get away from Google. I'll do my personal calendar through Nintendo, and having that train of thought of yes, please give us another social media so I can have a shared calendar within Nintendo and my Nintendo family. I would like to say that I feel like that this is low key within my prediction of, I think we are getting more Nintendo lifestyle things. No, it is not Nintendo.
Sure.
It's not Nintendo coffee like I was joking about, but I drink coffee every day. I look at a calendar every day. I don't know. I feel like there's some kind of connection there. I feel like I was on the right brain path. With thinking about that. And if this continues to grow into a more lifestyle thing, I would love that. If it continues to just stay as this, I'm not mad about that either. I literally started playing Animal Crossing again because I'm seeing what's happening in game Animal Crossing. Because I'm oh yeah, I do want to go catch cherry blossoms again because they are live right now. That's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, we'll see what happens with this. Nintendo is still very I don't know. They're still so weird when it comes to mobile, right? I don't know. It's they just keep trying different shit, and they keep trying to push cell phones on us while we're gaming, and it's I really just want everything to be a lot more cohesive, right? But I don't know. This is the growing pains that Nintendo always has, trying to adopt technology that everybody else has been adopting already for 15 years. So.
All right, well, that's all the first party stuff. Before we move on from this direct, is there anything anybody wants to mention? We glossed over 20 some odd games. So is there anything that got announced anybody wants to give a quick mention to?
Patapon.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh man, one of the reasons I got a PSP in the first place was to play Patapon, oddly enough. And I really, really loved Patapon 1. And I never got to play Patapon 2. So I'm really stoked that this is coming out again and getting broken out of PSP jail or PlayStation jail. I don't know if it ever got a good re-release properly, but dude, this is a huge get. This is so sick, and I'm really excited to play that. Other than that, not too much. Maybe the Pac-Man Metroidvania looks pretty sick to me, Shadow's Labyrinth, which is just hilarious that it's called Shadow's Labyrinth, and you wouldn't know it's a Pac-Man game unless you knew. And the design looks really cool, and the idea of it is fascinating to me, and I'm really curious to see what this game's about. And I love Metroidvania, so yeah, I'll check it out. But anyone else, what y'all think?
Yeah, well, I just want to add on specifically to Patapon 1+2 replay, the kind of like repackaging of those PSP games. Also, Everybody's Golf was announced too. So that's 2 Sony properties. I don't know if Sony still I don't know if Sony still owns these properties because they were part of Sony Japan, which all kind of got closed down. So maybe the rights holders changed in there and that's why they're going on. But there was no like small print about Sony stuff, but it was just interesting to see 2 Sony properties in this direct, and just what kind of that portends. And maybe if we'll be seeing more of that, I'd love to see Gravity Rush or something else kind of come to the Switch as well. I think that would find a really nice audience here. But that was something I definitely wanted to bring up, and I just love Hot Shots Golf, Everybody's Golf, whatever you want to call it. And then last thing I want to bring up, just because I keep seeing Real Tomato bring it up in the chat, is the Tamagotchi Plaza. We got Tomodachi Life and Tamagotchi, which was pronounced in the direct Tamagotchi, which has never been said by anyone on Earth ever.
Is that how have I been saying it wrong for 40 years?
I mean, it's a Japanese word, so Tamagotchi is probably right, but it's just like hearing a guy with an American accent say Tamagotchi just felt.
Got you. Is what they did.
Well, that was pretty good, man.
Patrick, I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
On the last game, we got a new brawler from Dotemu, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Looks really fun by the same people who's made Shredder's Revenge. Really excited about that. We also see it later in the Switch too. Sizzle Reel.
Well, that's it mostly then for this.
you have-
David?
Well, Summer, you had.
I
one
would
you wanted to
love
shout,
to
right?
just please let me talk about Story of Seasons for like just a second.
Yes.
Because this one, Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, just aesthetically really looks very similar to the first Story of Seasons on the 3DS, which was just called Story of Seasons. That one was like the first Harvest Moon game that was localized under the Story of Seasons title. Aesthetically it just looks really similar. I know to most people these games all look the same, but at a first glance trailer snippet, I thought it looked really good, and I'm really excited, and I was really excited to see that it's getting a Switch 2 version, so let's go.
Hell yeah.
Anything else? Sorry, I should have said that.
No, you're good. No, I mean, that's it for me.
Well, that's it then for this first Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch that they gave us on March 27th. But that was obviously not the only Direct we got. It's time for us to move on and talk about the Switch 2 Direct. Get that giant water, drink some, because we're strapping in, because there's a lot to talk about here on this one. So we're going to walk through this one a little bit more like we traditionally do, because there's a lot more going on. But we're going to open up with what they opened up with, which was the Mario Kart World reveal. I guess
before we start,
before that,
beat by beat, just to set the tone for me, kind of where I'm at, which is like we get these hardware reveals so rarely.
Yeah,
I mean, like how enjoyable it is to like. This is really fun. This is the first one we haven't had for 8 years. Loved all the excitement, all of like the 24-hour mega threads that I saw on Reddit, the conversations in Discord. Like that level of excitement is so rare. We probably have a response afterwards after watching the Direct, but also want to kind of recognize how fun it is. Like going into a Direct in those first couple of minutes of seeing the hardware and seeing everything kind of play out. It's just so fun and enjoyable to me, and is why I continue to be a Nintendo fan.
Yeah, if I can just, I know we want to jump into this, and this is just heads up, gonna be a long episode, everybody. But I was just buzzing all day from this, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said, this is so rare, and it's been something that's been so built up with anticipation for a long time. And I don't want to say that I don't think there were any blights on this show, because I think that there definitely were, and that Direct also brings up some difficult questions that I think we're going to need to answer about the future of like video games and commerce in general, right? So, but like other than that, I mean, this was just a fun presentation from start to finish. You could tell everybody presenting was really excited. I like that it was hosted by like the three kind of, the big designers of the console. It was kind of felt fresh and new, like it was a new page. What was it? Takahashi did the Switch 1 direct, and then having new blood kind of come out and present all this stuff. It just felt so fresh and exciting and new. And boy, yeah, I was just really smitten with this entire presentation.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Yeah, no, that's great. So y'all ready to jump into the specifics then? Let's talk about Mario Kart World. So Mario Kart World was the new Mario Kart. We kind of got shown off in the teaser video for the Switch 2, but we now have a lot more info about it. It is, I don't know, from my perspective, it looks like an open world Mario Kart. There was so much shown off here, but also there's going to be a whole nother freaking direct on this thing, right? So we're just nesting directs here, y'all.
Yeah, seriously. I couldn't believe how much they showed us in this, and we're going to still get another direct.
Yeah, I think that's on April 17th. So we have that to look forward to in a couple weeks. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's boats, there's planes, there's more Mario characters you can be. There's outfits, night, day, rain. So much to talk about. Where do y'all want to start? Anybody have any thoughts or any?
The cow, dude. Can we talk about the cow? Like, I was like watching the trailer and I was like, oh, this looks great. This looks incredible. Snowmobiles, jet skis, whatever. Oh, I lost it, dude. I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, Summer, but Valerie and I were both just like, can you play as the cow?
Yes,
like,
the cow. I literally immediately, I was like, the cow from Moo Meadows. And I'm like, I can already think in my friend group, like, who is going to main as the cow?
Yeah. Are you going to cosplay as the cow, you think? You don't have to answer that, I suppose. People are why there's game footage right now, but Summer just shot me a look. That's all I'll say.
No, I switched back so everyone can see how I'm looking at you now.
Oh, okay.
Because...
Right. I don't know if you saw, but also the cow is riding a motorcycle that is a boombox. I don't know if you noticed that. There was lots of. I was at work today, and one of my coworkers came by, and we like kind of frame by framed this trailer. We were looking at all the details, but they packed, because the trailer kind of washes over you the first time you see it. It's just like, oh, bright colors, everything looks crazy.
Yeah.
But then when you're looking at it, like, they put a lot of work into this trailer. They really showed off a lot of interesting things. A lot of the items they showed and characters they showed are all kind of thematically linked. So I was just really impressed with the whole presentation of this, not even talking about kind of the caveat of this game, but we should probably get into that as well.
Yeah. Anybody? I mean,
what did you think, Patrick?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that really jumped out at me, and I don't know if anybody said this yet, is the animations. There's a lot of squash and stretch going on, and in like it just looks so bouncy and fun. Like the way the carts are interacting. There's grinding segments. I don't know. I just loved the visuals of this.
Yeah. That was.
I don't know.
I think it does have a distinct style to it. I do think the characters themselves do look different from previous Mario Kart titles. They have like slightly larger heads and feet, so like a more cartoony feel to them from the previous Mario Kart entry. So I do love that they did that.
Yeah. Also, like, what's with, like, speaking of looks, characters have just multiple outfits, but it looks like you switch them while you're racing as well. And so I was just kind of confused. What's going on there?
You eat a big burger. Like, that's something I saw in the frame by frame. The item is you pull out a giant burger with a bunch of bacon on it. And
Big thumbs up for me, baby.
Yeah. And then you basically turn into an American. It's like Mario eats it and suddenly like looks super American. And then I think Waluigi eats it and becomes like a cowboy or something. So it was like, I don't know what is going on with that item and what purpose it serves. It might just have to do with some of just, because I mean, we're kind of talking around it here, but I mean, this is a huge shakeup for the formula here. This is very much the Forza Horizon of Mario Kart, right? Like, it is a giant interconnected open world. It's the Breath of the Wild of Mario Kart, like quite literally, right? And so I think that there's going to be lots of little things throughout this game that are like a little sillier, or things to do while you're going from place to place. Maybe that is like kind of switching your outfit on the fly. Maybe that's kind of what's going on here. It seems like it's also very a social game that really encourages this kind of group chat stuff that we'll talk about here in a second, or game chat, I guess Nintendo's calling it. And I think they want you to party up with your friends and play this in groups, right? So to me, this is like a much needed shakeup for the Mario Kart formula, especially after something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was by all intents and purposes like the definitive Mario Kart game, right? Like it's kind of, I was like, where do they even go from here? And shaking up the formula like this is exactly what I needed. I'm so glad this is coming out launch day.
Yeah.
This is going to be something that's going to be so much fun to play.
Something that I've always said about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is how incredibly immersive and incredible all these backgrounds are, but how I never get the chance to actually really look at them because I'm too focused on playing. So the idea of having free roam, which also means they're going to be putting that much level of attention and care into all of the environments, the idea that you are going cross country, like from race to race in this, and having photo mode and getting to do free roam with your friends, I'm so excited for that. This is so me. I can't wait to go on road trips with my friends in game. And take photos in front of landmarks. Find discoveries together and like coordinate outfits to do. This Mario Kart is for me. I'm so excited that this, just like you said, David, that it's at launch.
I think my big question is, they're obviously going to have the Grand Prix mode, which is going to have the preset tracks like traditional Mario Kart, but like, other than free roam mode, what can you do in the open world that makes it worth driving around in? Because Summer, I am so excited for what you're saying, but also like I need a little bit more meat for driving around the world. Like I don't want to just drive around the world just to drive around the world. And I feel like there's still a little bit that they're holding back about the features of this game, which makes me excited. But I'm like, just the idea when they did the zoom out and you just see the whole world, I'm like, this is incredible. This is going to be so much fun. Definitely, the Forza Horizon. That is a game I did not expect to enjoy as much as I did, but I will love it even more with these type of driving mechanics.
Yeah, I agree. And they announced at the end of this, there is, in 2 weeks, there's going to be a Mario Kart World Direct, right? So I think that there is clearly a lot, like they showed that one mode, the like checkpoint mode, where you kind of go from side to side of the map, going from track to track to track. That I think is like one mode that they showed us. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in that upcoming direct. And I would imagine that there is going to be a plethora of things to do in between stuff, in between the actual like Grand Prix, in between the tracks in this game. I would imagine that there will be Forza Horizon, like get all the pinatas, like collectibles, pull tricks off, like different whatever, I mean, I have a lot of faith, I think, in Nintendo's exploration style games. Like I think ever since they realized like how good of a job that they did with Breath of the Wild, they've kind of just proven again and again that they can do open world games really, really well. And so, I'm really excited to see them bring some of that mindset to Mario Kart. I hope, it's going to be good, but I think I think they've been cooking this game for a really, really long time, and it already shows.
I'll jump in here before we maybe move on from Mario Kart World. I'll say I'm a little disappointed that this is the only big Nintendo launch title. It was unprecedented to have like Breath of the Wild launch for Switch 8 years ago. This is the best business decision since Mario Kart was the best-selling Switch game. But I would be remiss to say like I am disappointed a little bit that we're not getting another Mario game. Something else other than Mario Kart. I'm not particularly I'll play Mario Karts at parties, and like online, it's really fun, but in my free time, I don't really play it. So there's a slight disappointment from my perspective, but I'm happy to be the vocal minority here.
Matt, give me your Switch 2 pre-order now.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's not like a ton of Nintendo first party reveals in this. Actually, there's looking back at it, it's not a ton, but they were able to bolster a lot of that with a lot of the Nintendo Switch 2 edition games, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I think we definitely need to real quick. This was not in the direct, but this game has an MSRP of $79.99. I don't know if you saw that, Patrick, but this game is retailing physical edition at stores for $80. Digital is going to be 70 for this game when it releases. So I don't know. I'm shocked. Like when I saw that, I was shocked, because it was like, sure, of course, Nintendo Switch 2 games are going to be $70. Like we all thought that was going to be the case. But the fact that this came out of the gate, first game, launch day, $80 is insane. I know they're trying to obviously push people towards the bundle that includes it, where you're basically getting it for $50 instead of the MSRP of 80. It makes it more attractive, but I was not expecting Nintendo of all people to be the first company that puts out $80 games, right? So I don't know what you guys think about that, or if you have any takes on that.
Tons of thoughts here. This is what everyone's talking about mostly. We're always talking about like the $80 price point. But to me, I think the real conversation is like, what's the value behind that $80? It is not. I'm not surprised by it by any means. Everyone's trying to say Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be $100 or maybe even more. But we've had $60, $70 games for quite a while now. So it kind of makes sense. This shouldn't be surprising, but there's some things that we should expect with the increased price to have not just a game, but also increased value with the increased price too. So if that's support, 3-4 year support, I'm not sure what that would look like. That could look like tracks. That could be like new features, characters, and the like. That would add value to me as long as there's additional support. $80 fine. But if it's like $80 and $10 DLC,
that's true.
Something along those lines, then that becomes more upsetting.
Yeah, for $80, they better have free DLC for this game.
A perspective that I got to see today from a mutual in Germany, and then a lot of people in other countries were chiming in, is that they are getting kind of tired of being in international spaces and seeing the overwhelming, I guess, complaints from us. Like, yes, it does suck because it's something different from what we are used to. I do think it's important to acknowledge that games are way, way, way more expensive in countries that aren't Japan and the United States. That the costs are just so much higher for imports, and that there are so many different taxes that get applied. And that's something that I didn't really think about until I saw conversations in certain spaces of people in other countries being like, hey, I get that this sucks for you, but also it's going to be like more than twice the price of what you're paying for me. And I was like, oh, damn. I hear everything that Matthew is saying. I would also love to know how much like developers are making, right? Like, like how much is Bottom Line making? Because like I would feel better if I knew that Bottom Line was getting a pay increase, in terms of paying more for games as well. But yes, to the larger conversation, reminded myself, looked at game ads for older systems, and SNES games ranged from $60 to $100 at launch. N64 games were all $60 at launch. So I'm just gonna eat out less. I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah,
the goal for all of us.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not me, dog. No, I'm pizza every day. Domino's. We're
gonna order that right now.
Yeah, it's episode 300. We got to throw a couple callbacks in here, but no, I am all for, and we should move on. But I am all for a more variable pricing strategy for gaming in general moving forward. I think
100%.
Everything being $60 for a really long time probably was better for some games and worse for others, right? And I think it would behoove everybody in the industry to just like I like that Astrobot was like $50, right? Like, or was it 60? It might have been 60, but everything else on PS5 is 70, right? So it's like games like that, it's like have 30, 40, 50, $70 price points. I just think 80 is a little much.
All right, well, we should move on to talking about that C button. That's the thing they showed off next. And it is C for group chat. That's what the C stands for, group chat.
Game chat, I think.
Game
right?
chat, something with a G.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's funny. That's funny. But anyway, you can finally voice chat on a Nintendo console here with the Switch 2, and you can even buy a camera that awkwardly plugs into your Switch and has a long cord and then sits on its stand somewhere in your room. And and I don't know, they showed off that you can see other people and see their screens and pick whose screen you're seeing and change all these settings. What do y'all think? Is this overdue, or are we going to use it, or are we just going to stick to Discord?
Right. I can see instances where it could be really fun and make sense. I was extremely hesitant on it through most of this trailer until I saw Mario Party, the Mario Party involvement. And if there are other games that have in-game camera use with friends, I could see that being really fun. Now the issues with frame rate and latency when you're all playing like different games and seeing everybody's screens, like in theory, I do think that's fun, like everybody's streaming at the same time together, but like, holy wow, I know that not everybody has the same internet that I do. So like how is that gonna handle? But I mean, I have issues in Discord sometimes too. I mean, Discord isn't like super compatible with everybody's internet as well. So we'll see. I am hesitantly, like cautiously optimistic about this. I think it could be fun for specific instances. I don't know that it's going to take me away from Discord.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like the idea of just having group chat is incredible. So that alone, I'm in. Where I was paused whenever you see the actual like game streaming frame rates, I was like, is this another situation where the Wi-Fi card is kind of skimped on in the Switch 2? And like, what am I extra $450 paying for if I can't even like watch one person stream on this thing? I don't know. I'm like really kind of curious to see how it runs in actual, and like hopefully this was just a setting expectations low so that when the technology comes out, it's like better than what we saw in the reveal trailer. But I don't know. And then I think the other thing, specifically about the camera, I wish it was more portable and less like on a stand. Like I wish you could remove it from the stand and just stick it on top of the Switch itself, so that if you're like sitting on the couch with it, you could like have it, as like your webcam.
The nice you're like laying on the couch, you get that double chin action.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's how I like to see all my friends.
I agree though. I thought it was odd that it's gonna sit over there. I don't have room on I mean, David, you've seen my house. Like I don't have room on my TV console for a camera to like, and not a good like centered space for it too. So unless the cable for this thing is gonna be long, which also I don't want the cable running through my living room.
Well, I mean,
pro tip, a wireless adapter for it,
right? Which they might, but pro tip: don't buy the Nintendo camera. There was some small text that said basically most USB-C webcams will work with this. So it's like that is just a USB-C webcam that Nintendo is selling.
Awesome,
right? So I think that. It's probably whatever tech they're doing to like center your face on the call or put you in the little bubble on Mario Party or whatever. Okay. Like that is going to be software bound. That is not a. Were you holding up your webcam? That's
nice. I was gonna say my second webcam here, right? Because it's got like its own little tripod, or I can I could potentially clip it depending on what so like what you could Switch 2 looks like. So
I mean, I imagine that there will be cheaper third-party alternatives that are literally made to just be like sit on top of the Switch 2, so it's just got the camera on top. That's what I imagined a camera would look like when I was thinking about a Switch attached style camera.
Yeah, what we need a separate Nintendo app. We download it, we hook it up to our smartphone, and plug it in to our Nintendo Switch 2.
And you scan a QR code with that camera. I really want a Game Boy camera now on the NSO app. system.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that aesthetic. And I've said this before, but I looked way too far into a rabbit hole of how to get a modern day Game Boy camera kind of set up. And I was just like, I just got to wait for them to add this on Switch 2. I feel like it's coming. I really hope they make like another like Game Boy camera app, like Nintendo Switch camera app would be so much fun. That is like the first thing that came to mind when I saw that little like webcam on the stand. I was like, they better make a game for this.
Yeah, I just quickly my thoughts on game chat. I'm surprised to hear you kind of mid on it, Summer, because I think this is an absolute W. I think this is really amazing. I think it's hilarious that they just straight up copied Discord's UI. Like it looks like Discord. I was like, wow, they just put Discord on the Switch. But no, it is Nintendo's bespoke chat thing. It just looks exactly like Discord, which was really funny to me. I agree with you, Jordan, that I think that the video screen share is a little washed. I think it was very Nintendo. I think this was the first L of the day of the Direct, was that they were like, it was running at like 5 frames per second. Maybe it'll be better than that. It won't be. Let's be realistic. If they showed it here, it's not going to be any better when it's actually being used with who knows, people's different setups or whatever, right? So I think that this is going to be best for just voice, right? But I think that this is excellent. Like I love Steam chat on my Steam Deck, right? Sitting there with my Steam Deck in my hands on the couch, while I chat with somebody and their voice is coming through the Steam Deck speakers and the sound is being blocked out of the game and they can't hear an echo of themselves and it just works, is amazing. And not having to rely on a phone or another thing and having to worry if you're going to be picking up the sound of the TV through Discord or whatever. Like it really, I think if this works as advertised, this is going to be a game changer. And not only just the actual chatting and voice chatting feature, which is amazing that Nintendo's finally just like, okay, just set up parental controls if you don't want your kid to be like preyed on, like, which is the way it always should have been. Like, I think beyond that, I think just the ability to party up with your friends seems, there is like technically partying or game invites or whatever on the Switch 1 right now, but no developers really use it. And then whenever you use it, nobody knows how. They're like, I just got this notification on my Switch. I don't know what to do. It's like, so I think the fact that they're setting this up early and being like, this is the party system. There's a button for it on the fucking thing. Like I think that is going to be a game changer, and it's just Nintendo's finally catching up to where Xbox was like 20 years ago at this point. So it's really good to see. But I hope it works as advertised. Is only my only qualm.
All right, well, let's talk about Game Share, because that is the next thing that happened. Game Share is the ability to one person have a game and play multiplayer either locally or online with other people on other Switches. So this is going to be coming to some Switch 1 games in update form, it sounds like, including Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, as well as a number of other games. And then they said, and also select Switch 2 games. So this is pretty cool. And another feature that feels like, I don't know that we ever even specifically talked about this, but I'm like, yeah, this should be there. This is great.
This is Hanafuda.
Yeah.
Piano.
Yeah, goated Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. But I mean, this was like a DS feature originally, right? I mean, this is like just them bringing that back, right? Like, just one person with one game sharing it with all their friends, and you download it over the air or whatever. I think that's great. Seems like they're also doing it online, like in different areas. I don't know if there was a caveat there or not. It was kind of hard to tell.
It made it look like there's certain games that will be in person and certain games that'll be online, but guess we'll find out.
Yeah. But this is, another great feature. It's not what I wanted, which was like Steam Remote Play Together, which is where you're basically streaming your game onto their computer or whatever. But if the game was going to be streamed at 5 frames per second, like the screen share was through Game Chat, then I don't want that, But this seems like a good feature. I guess we'll have to see what games support it. They showed it was like Super Mario Odyssey supports it, but that's not a game I think of as like a game I want to play online with people, So, or like even on 2 Switches. So I don't know. It's kind of strange what is seemingly supported right now, but I'm sure a lot of Switch 2 games will support it.
Yeah, I think this is also like a great win for like, I think in the DS specifically, like when I had that, I waited in line for a Wii, and I was in line for like 8 hours at like a Walmart, and we all just hopped on Mario Kart DS, and I was like, oh, you don't got it? That's cool. Let's game, like we could do the game share functionality, and all of us were able to play. I'm like, this is like a huge win for that kind of situation. Or like, I'm thinking like conventions, like large scale conventions, like the fact that this like wasn't part of the Switch is kind of wild. And they had like weird workarounds for some games. Like I know Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classic specifically had like its own bespoke app that was just, if you wanted to play someone else's copy, you had to download this other game version of it. But
and it was just for certain games. It was like just for card games and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm all in. If they could take that feature, the one thing that was missing on the DS though is like it was mostly limited. Like it wasn't, oh, you can play every piece of functionality of this game. It was like Mario Kart. It was like pared down character
Everybody's
selection.
a shy guy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this is cool. Like the next step of this just took about 15 years to get here, but hey, we're here.
All right. Well, next up, they showed off a bunch of technical specs about the Switch 2. I think this was kind of like we talked about maybe in our predictions episode and just in the past about they're going to really try to go for the hardcore gamers here. And this was definitely a section about that, kind of talking about screen size, all the different aspects of all the different parts of it, the memory, the dock, Pro Controller. I don't know. Anything out of this y'all want to make sure and mention? A lot of this kind of lines up with what we were hearing. I don't know if there's anything especially.
I just want to say that I think it's I think it was expected, but I also think it's funny to see. This isn't usually a thing that has ever been focused on with Nintendo. So seeing them focus on it means that they are paying attention to what people are talking about regarding their hardware online. They don't usually do these like at least not visually in a video like this, right? You usually see it as like a one-to-one comparison on their website after the fact, or like after it's already been out for a while. So seeing it in this way, it tells you that they understand parts of their audience.
Yeah, that's a great point. It definitely did feel like this is for the people that subscribe to Digital Foundry on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice that they kind of were like treating us like adults here, you know, which is good. But yeah, like you said, and has been said here, is this was mostly confirming everything that we'd already heard from all the leaks, right? So that's great. I mean, I'm it's not like I'm like, oh man, it was spoiled for me that it's 120 hertz. I'm like, oh, thank God that leak was right. You know, like that's really fantastic that this, you know, has a lot of things that are better than the Steam Deck, you know, like a 1080p screen, you know, 120 hertz, like you can't get that even on the Steam Deck OLED, right? So I think that is, you know, really great. Sorry, my dad's in the chat. That's making me really excited. But yeah, I thought that was wonderful to see. We now have a name for the Joy-Cons. They are literally Joy-Con 2 is what they are called. That is, so everybody knows that now. They talked about the speakers being clearer. I really hope they're louder. I think one of my major problems with the Switch is that it's like 10 dB too quiet. I wish that thing was way louder. That's another thing playing on the Steam Deck that, oh my Lord. Okay. Guys, can we chill in the chat? My dad's in here. All right. But I, something that I thought was really great to see was that it does have native 4K output. You can't do 4K 120 hertz, but you can do 4K 60, or you can do 1080p 120, which is great. Doc is a fan, and I thought the Pro Controller looks really good. I like that it's got two like programmable toggles in the back. That's awesome. That's
like a GR. Is that what they call the buttons?
Grip, I guess grip L and grip R maybe is what. Yeah.
I think for that, I think my main takeaway was like, I hope there's a little bit more customization options as far as your controller goes. And we got a little peek of that also whenever they announced, this is kind of skipping ahead, GameCube. You could like program the buttons to be different places. So I'm hoping that is more like of an easily accessible option. Because I mean, if they're going to add the extra little paddles, like you're going to have to be able to program what those paddles do based on what game you're playing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping what that paddle do, David.
What that paddle do though? I love back paddles. I use them all the time on my Steam Deck. I've gotten really used to like, especially first person shooters, like because I don't like jumping with A or like a thumb stick because I like to keep my thumb on the right stick at all times, you know? So it's like having some like my ring finger or something like that go back in and be able to jump with that, I think is a really nice thing. So that's awesome. It's got a headphone jack too. So it's like if you want to be a bit more of a pro gamer, put in a headset there, not have to worry if you're the tiny little fucking mic on the Switch, 10 feet away is going to actually pick up your voice and drown out your roommate's blending that's going on in the background. Then you could just play it safe and put on a headset and plug it into your Pro Controller.
Oh, okay. Yeah. As long as the Pro Controller accepts the headset mic. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's nothing else on the specs. Then I want to give a quick shout out to Austin in the chat who pointed out, Matt, when you said the only launch game was Mario Kart World, there is also this launch game of the Welcome Tour, Nintendo 2 Welcome Tour, a paid digital only game is what they showed off next.
Another big L from this direct, I think.
This is, I guess it looks like this is a bunch of mini games, tech demos, and explanatory text about the Switch 2. They did not price it. I can't imagine what price I'm gonna be like, okay, that's worth getting this. I don't, unless there's just tons of cool tech demos and mini games. I don't know what to say about this. I'm kind of like confused.
How will we figure out where the magnets are?
You gotta just tear it apart.
The magnets.
You gotta bust that thing open.
Patrick, Jordan, Summer, David.
We must play
where
this
are the
game.
magnets?
Play Welcome Tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am a little bummed that the little people in there are not me's. Why are they little people that have normal proportions? Those should be me's. So that doesn't give me a lot of hope for the kinds of games that might be included in this. I was, kind of hopeful that we might get more like Nintendo Land style games out of this, kind of similar to the Wii U. But if it's all just mini putting, I don't know.
I'm so stuck on the cost. Like, why isn't this at least free for NSO subscribers?
I
and
agree.
if that's true, why is it not
Insane.
said that
Agree.
that's true?
100%.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be true. I mean, it's like this is what they did this with 1-2 Switch too, right? Like it was like
refuse
1-2
to buy
Switch should have
1-2 Switch
also
on principle.
Yeah, but this is okay. We need to remember that their only time in modern history that Nintendo has had a free packing game was Wii Sports, and Reggie had to fight for that. Nintendo of Japan did not want to do that. Okay, Reggie's gone. All right, there's no one here fighting for pack-ins anymore. And 1-2 Switch also sold like 10 million copies or something ridiculous. So it's like they're really pushing what people are going to be willing to buy with this. And I mean, it looks cool. When I said this is an L, I actually think this is great. I wish this was free because it looks like a ton of fun to go around and see what all the all the little tiny details of the inside of the machine. I think it's great. I was looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to play this. It seems like it'd be fun to stream even. But then they were like, it's paid. And it was like, oh man, nobody's going to get this. I think the absolute most I would pay for this is $20, right? And even that I would feel really dirty about, So it's like, but I could see them trying to, charge $30-$40 for this.
Summer, pull up your spreadsheet right now. Who in your family is buying this game? And can I join your family and borrow it for 2 weeks?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're maxed out, and if it's more than $5, I don't think I'm getting this. Seriously, I
think 10 would feel fine if there's a lot of mini games. Like the putting thing actually looked fun, and it was cool to see what is they showed. Like if you're holding a mouse, you move the mouse around, but then turning the mouse, does nothing like on a computer. But actually using the gyro in addition to like mouse mode. Like there's definitely cool stuff that they're showing off here that seems like fun, but yeah, man, fuck, dude. This is an instruction. This is an interactive instruction manual.
I think I'm going to get plenty of learning how to use my Switch by playing the other games that I want to play. Enough of what their tech demo showing off in this are being added to other games. Like jumping ahead, like a game is getting remastered for the Switch that is including like new mini games that are mouse mode specifically because it's on the Switch too. Mm-hmm. I don't need this. I'm going to get Bravely Default. I don't need this.
Guys, it's gonna be probably $40. Like 1-2 Switch was $50 and it sold how many copies? Like this is going to be probably, my gut says 40. I'm hoping for 30, and I'll be surprised if it's any less. But I mean,
it's digital only too, so you can't even steal it from Walmart.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, we don't have Reggie here. Doug Bowser couldn't even be bothered to show up for this direct.
Yeah, you're goddamn right.
You know,
where is Doug?
Where is Doug? I need proof of life. That's all I wanted for my birthday.
Where's Doug?
Proof of life of Doug Bowser, and he can't even be bothered to show up for the biggest direct. I don't know, man. This looks lame. To me, sorry.
We should move on unless there's I want to talk about this more, but I think we got a lot to cover. So the next up, they talked about how there are 3 types of games you can get on your Switch. Switch 1 games, Switch 2 games, and then this is where they explain upgraded Switch 2 games. That is games that came out for the Switch 1 or the Nintendo Switch and are now getting upgraded versions. We don't know how much, but I guess it's going to be the difference in price probably that for a standard game. But if there are variable games, I don't know. But anyway, that's a part of this discussion. But they listed a handful of games where you can get upgrades. And like Summer was just talking about, some of them even have additional content. It's not entirely clear which ones will and which ones won't, but Mario Party Jamboree specifically has like a bunch of extra content for the mouse mode. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are getting upgraded visuals primarily, but there's an app that you can use as well.
A GPS app?
Yes, basically.
For Breath of the Wild? Yeah.
A GPS
Turn
app.
left at the Gorons.
and then Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 are also having upgraded versions, which I'm guessing is mostly just visuals. I don't know. We have a lot of questions unanswered about this, to be honest. But what do y'all think?
Being a big one. How much are some of these upgrades going to cost? I do know that there was a thing put out that said that Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild upgrades are free if you are an NSO subscriber.
That's right. So
we know at least those are going to be bundled in. We also, but it's like the other ones looked cool, you know, like I would get the Kirby one, but you know, is that going to be $20? Is it going to be 10? If it was 10, that would obviously make the most sense because Switch 2 games are 70 and Switch 1 games are 60, so the difference there is 10, but I think these are going to probably be $20 each for these Nintendo Switch 2 edition upgrades. I think some of those are going to be worth it, some of those aren't. But you know, that's fine. I think something they didn't really talk about in this direct is that there are also just a bunch of games that are just going to be upgraded for free that just perform better and just will behave better on the Switch 2. They'll be getting free downloads and updates that are not Switch 2 editions. You know what I mean? So there's a distinction there, right? So I think, you know, for instance, I think it's like Sword and Shield is going to just perform better. You know, I think that like, yeah, Scarlet and Violet, you know, like hopefully we'll just like finally have a stable fucking frame rate, you know, and be able to be played at like maybe 1440p or something like that with a solid 60. Like that would be great, you know, like I mean that would make that game a lot more playable for me, right? Just that was a problem I had with that game, just the playability wise. I saw the 2 top-down Zelda games were also on that list, so that would be really nice. Also, something that Nintendo kind of leaked something in this presentation as well when they were showing all the Switch 1 games that could be played. One of the games was Yoshi's Woolly World. Did you see that? Right? Because Crafted World is the one that's on the Switch.
Was it not Crafted World they were showing?
I thought it was all crafted.
I'm pretty sure it was Crafted.
No. It was Woolly World. It
Let me
was
go
a screen
find it.
grab from Woolly World. So it's like it was just at the top of the screen. It's like it's kind of cropped off, but people have been talking about it like it's a level from Woolly World. So it's like Nintendo kind of leaked a Switch 1 game that's going to be coming that they had not talked about. So a Woolly World port is on its way.
I would be
At least
thrilled.
everybody's assuming that.
Because I think we've talked
Yeah,
about this
yeah.
on this podcast specifically previously that Crafted World, like, fine, but not as good as Woolly World. Not
Yeah,
as
Woolly
good
World
as
is amazing.
Woolly World. It was
Yeah,
a lot more cohesive. So, oh man, I would love to see that. I just assumed it was
Yeah.
Crafted World, though. I hadn't looked at it hard enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trusting others because I'm not like an expert on either game necessarily, but
Well,
that's what
one is
people
entirely
online are saying.
yarn, and the other one is other craft inclusion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally, like the fibers is what you would look for. So I'm gonna have to go find that.
Yeah, just Googling it, I'm seeing a lot of stuff about it, and in particular when they showed like all the games that people
Yeah.
have noticed that it's in that.
There's just a little bit, so that's
yeah.
exciting. But yeah, either way, it's cool. I think this is a good way to do it. It really shows. Shout out to Nintendo Forecast, awesome Nintendo YouTuber. I really recommend everybody go subscribe to his channel. But he was talking a lot about Nintendo doubling down on Bowser's Fury-esque add-ons to games, and we've already seen 2 here, right? It's like Jamboree TV, Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, the Kirby Forgotten Land plus whatever that new mode is called. So I feel like we'll be getting a lot of that, and it definitely just shows that, like, we talked recently about how Nintendo's been slowing down on DLC. Well, here's why. They're holding their DLC for these Nintendo Switch 2 editions, right? That's kind of another way for people who maybe were huge fans of these particular games that want more of the game. Well, if you want it, you're going to have to play the Switch 2 version, right? So, that's definitely a strategy. I think it's a pretty good way to do it, to be honest.
All right, well, next up is the mouse mode game, just dated as summer 2025, and that is Drag and Drive or Drag X Drive. I don't know if they said it out loud, and I don't know what they said, but yeah, it's like a wheelchair basketball game that highlights, I'm guessing, kind of tank controls ish, just based on the fact that it seems like you're using 2 Joy-Cons in mouse mode. I don't know how deep this game is going to be. That would be my biggest concern about it. Is this just going to be like something that shows off mouse mode well and is fun for an hour and then you're done? Or is there a campaign? Summer, what do you got some thoughts?
Yeah, my first thought was, we heard you liked arms. What if you only had arms?
Wow.
No, but really, like, how deep was arms though? This
Yeah.
is that's the vibe I got from the game though. Is like this is like arms, that it is like specifically showing off specific hardware, in what I think is a really cool way. I don't know that anybody has done a sports game like this. If they have, it didn't like do well. I think it looks great, and just from watching the trailer, it does seem to be involved with multiple modes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this looks awesome, and I
Yeah.
love seeing disabled representation
Exactly.
done in a very natural way. This doesn't feel like, it's just like this is a sport that people play. Was it Murderball, that documentary? It reminds me of that. But I'm really excited about this because I kind of predicted something sort of like this. I was thinking what they would do with 2 Joy-Con or 2 Joy-Con 2s on their side in mouse mode, like how you could do that. And my mind went to a Katamari Damacy game where you're moving it forward as if you're moving the ball. So you would turn it like this and you would go forward like this. And that's it's pretty much what this is, only you're moving it back to move your wheels, right? And so I was in a wheelchair myself for a while after I recovered for a surgery. So it's like and my desk chair was a wheelchair for a really long time. So it's like that motion is like very natural to me. So just like kind of like watching this direct and putting the Joy-Cons on the desk and kind of using it like that, I just feel like this is going to be a really intuitive and interesting way to like move around, and then taking your hand up using the gyro to then shoot the ball into the goal. I don't know. It just seems like a really cool gameplay mechanic, and I'm really excited to play this game. It does seem a little shallow, and the graphics are kind of gray and look sort of like a PS2 game, weirdly. I didn't really love the aesthetics of this game, but I'm really excited for this. This is definitely going to be one I pick up as somebody who's like a fan of like Switch Sports Soccer. Like I think that was like my favorite mode in that game. So
Love that game.
this looks kind of like Nintendo's like motion controlled Rocket League. So I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna play this too.
I think about the biggest question it brought up for me though is like, have we talked about how the mouse mode is only shown on flat surfaces?
Yeah, I did notice that.
I play a lot of my Switch like on the couch, on the other side of the room, with no flat surfaces around me, and I'm wondering how the mouse mode is going to work in that scenario. Specifically, this game, like when they showed it was both on top of a flat surface. So that's like the biggest question that got brought up for me, as someone who's also a big soccer from Nintendo Switch Sports fan. Like I was like, oh, this game looks like that, but you can skate up a ramp like in Tony Hawk and slam dunk the ball. That looks sick. But yeah, I was just like, if it's not something I can play on my couch, I don't know how much I'd play it.
Yeah, I think all eyes. There's a lot of stuff, and we were talking about this beforehand, Summer and I. But it's like I think all eyes are going to be on the kind of like in-person Switch experiences that they're doing coming up for unbiased, real people, hands-on thoughts on how a lot of this stuff works. Because right now it's a lot of Nintendo employees being like, "Hey, it works great," But we'll have to see. I'm hoping that the Switch doesn't rattle, when you're holding on to stuff. But we'll be hearing a lot more in the coming days on Reddit and stuff like that.
Well, next they had a slew of third-party games, starting unsurprisingly with Elden Ring. A number of different developers and studios kind of got a chance to quickly talk about their game. Most of these are games that were already released, but not really feasible on the original Nintendo Switch. But I don't know, any of these specifically y'all want to talk about? I mean, I guess there was also a new Bond game announced, sort of thrown in there, which was kind of cool. But
we've known that the Bond game is coming for a while from IO, the creators of Hitman. But I think this was the first time that it's been like officially like teased with a video, other than like we're making a Bond game like announcement. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, we could kind of just run through them real quick. I think there was Hades 2 is kind of finally coming to console, I think, day and date.
So all we have right now of Hades 2 is just early access as well. So as soon as we saw this in this trailer, like getting the first teaser of the full game coming out, and there were a couple of these with indie titles, not AAA games that I was surprised to see. And this was the first one that, oh, wow, we are getting confirmation that it's coming to the Switch and it's coming this year, not just early access.
Yeah, and I think it's the same day it releases on that, it's going to be releasing on everything too. So it's
and there were a couple of those.
We don't have all the release dates in this doc here, and I think that some of them were not June 5th, but I think a lot of them were. I think a lot of these games are coming out day one with the Switch too, which is really exciting. I know Hades is one of those. I think Elden Ring was too. But yeah, we've got Street Fighter 6, which
with Amiibo.
I
love Street Fighter 6, and I play it a lot on Steam. But I don't know that I'm going to double dip. I mean, unless these Amiibo do something, which they probably won't.
Oh, they said that there's going to be modes exclusive to the Switch too. But I did think it was interesting that this was the first mention of Amiibo as well. That, okay, we found out through Street Fighter that we are going to continue to get Amiibo support.
I think it's the only Amiibo mentioned in the entire direct.
We got another Amiibo mention, but it was like directly after the direct in like the Legend of Zelda trailers.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
We are getting new Legend of Zelda Amiibo as well.
That's right.
Yo, I got one tinfoil hat thing about this. There's like 26 characters in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
That's gonna take a while to produce every single character.
Think they're gonna make them all?
I think they're gonna make more than the ones they announced, and that means I don't think a Super Smash Brothers is coming anytime soon. Because if they're gonna continue Amiibos, why wouldn't they make new Super Smash Brothers Amiibos? That's my tinfoil hat theory. Once I saw the Amiibo come back,
that hat
you wild. Yeah, you wild for that one.
I'm putting the hat on too because.
Oh, come on.
No, I think because if they're doing all of these Amiibo, are you gonna get to use them all in the new Smash?
Yo.
No, the answer to that is no. All right.
The answer to that is you don't know.
Let's bring ourselves back down to earth. Sorry, I'm just a hater right now, but yeah, we got a lot of. I think we should probably just kind of go through some of the rest of these really quickly. But it was. I hope you don't mind me taking over here, Patrick. But I think EA has some sports games. Madden and EAFC are both coming. That's exciting to finally have some parity on Nintendo consoles. With I think that was something that made a lot of erstwhile gamers, or people that kind of dipped their toe into gaming, kept them away from Nintendo consoles because maybe they only really play Madden or FIFA or whatever, and so it's like we have a PlayStation for that. Now you can get a Switch for that and play it on the go and stuff. I think that's going to actually do a lot of really great things for sports gamers. Hogwarts Legacy is getting a whole brand new version for Switch 2, it seems. I don't think it's a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I think it's just straight up a new version of the game for Switch 2.
It was such ass on the Switch, so good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
Still sold.
Yeah, it's still sold really, really well. But this actually looks like really pretty. Whatever you think about this game and the Wizarding World in general, it is a big seller and does look like a fun game. Do you have something, Summer?
Oh no, I just want to move on to Tony Hawk because
please.
The thing that got teased in this, besides the fact that it's going to be on the Switch 2, is we're getting a SpongeBob mode. They really just kind of whoop that right there at the end.
Yeah.
Hearing the Bikini Bottom sounds and then it was gone.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm excited. I'm not sure if I'm going to be getting that on Steam Deck or if I'm getting that on Switch 2. I feel like every new game coming out, I'm going to get on Switch 2 just because I'm going to be excited to have a new console. But
sure, yeah. Well, a lot of things are exclusive to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like modes.
Split Fiction was shown off. We talked about Hitman. Yakuza 0 is coming.
My God. Just yesterday I tried to play Yakuza 0 on my Xbox and I was confronted with the message telling me that it was no longer on Game Pass. And I was like, oh my God. So seeing this get put in here and being told that it's going to get a bunch of upgrades, it already looks better on the Switch 2 than it does on the Xbox, that version. They have overhauled it again, calling it the director's cut. It's going to have a bunch of extra cutscenes and additional content. Yes, okay, I know I was more than halfway through the game, but I will happily restart it to get all of that additional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I'm also going to go ahead and back up just really quickly to talk about, I just have to shout out Bravely Default really quickly. I know that this is something that a lot of people have been asking for, recognized it as soon as I saw Anya's and heard that music. Grateful to know that it's going to be $40, that it's not going to be a higher price. No, it's going to cost what it cost. It's going to cost the same as what it cost. At least that's what I saw. That's what I saw today.
I didn't realize that. That's good.
But it's getting new content as well. It's totally redesigned. You can switch between what graphics you want to use if you want to look at the original 3DS or if you want it to be the new updated. And then it's gonna have mini games that are showing off other parts of the Switch 2, which I love.
All right, I think that was all of them, at least from this first segment. We had a brief break, though, because there are more third-party games, another sort of similar segment. But first, they showed Koei Tecmo's and Nintendo's collaboration on the next Hyrule Warriors game, which is called Age of Imprisonment and is
lore,
prequel to Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know. I can't get too excited about these games because they just don't work for me very well. But
That's
I'm
fair.
happy for people who like the Warriors games and especially the Hyrule Warriors games.
It'll be nice to have a Hyrule Warriors game that runs at a solid frame rate, hopefully, here, because none of them have before on any of the consoles that they have been released on. So, and I just, like you said, Matt, I mean, it's kind of made me remember how much I love Tears of the Kingdom, and I really hope that this is actually canon and not kind of like a side story time travel thing like the last Age of Calamity was. I think that they have an opportunity here to actually do something that actually really adds to the story in a meaningful way, right?
Yeah, it does seem to be what was happening with Zelda while Link was just
how did he do in Tears of the Kingdom? Hard to not tear up hearing that updated theme from Tears of the Kingdom as well. I think I'm sold on this. I think I'm gonna have to play it. I think I might go back and try to play the first the Breath of the Wild prequel Warriors game, because I did love the Three Houses, Three Hopes, Fire Emblem Warriors game. So if this is gonna just look better as well, I'm into it. I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm personally in my Shrek Rave era right now. Cool is dead. It's dumb. Come have fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I think
Shrek
there's
Rave.
beyond that too, though. I think there's going to be a lot of great, delicious lore in this.
You know, all that glitters is gold. You know.
Well,
That's exactly.
if
I
there's
hate
nothing else on the Hyrule Warriors, we can talk about GameCube is coming to NSO.
Let's go.
I believe they said this is expansion pack, right?
Yes.
And so they
And Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't. That makes sense. But good to point out. And they showed off a few games. They kind of highlighted Wind Waker and Soul Calibur 2 and F-Zero GX. But then they also showed off a number of other games, and we see Luigi's Mansion there. So now maybe we know why they didn't pack that one in. And I don't know, handful of other GameCube games to get shown off in that little quick
Pokemon
scroll
Coliseum,
by.
Pokemon XD,
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Hello.
Yo.
TV Robo.
TV Robo, Mario
A lot
Striker.
of games that are really expensive to find box
Yes.
copies of,
Yes.
you know, so
Yes,
that's
dude.
It's
that's
worth
pretty
it.
good.
It's worth it just
Yeah.
for that. Like, yeah, I could emulate it on my PC, but this is way more convenient. I want it on my Switch. I want the ease of it, you know?
Oh, and you can play online with your friends, which you can't really do easily, at least on PC.
Thrilled to
right?
have
So-
that. Thrilled to have that with F-Zero GX. We're absolutely going to have play parties in the Switch Headz Discord.
Yeah. You know, I'm obviously beside myself with excitement that F-Zero GX is now a launch game for the Switch 2. That is very exciting. F-Zero GX, when played in HD and in widescreen, which this game does support a widescreen mode, looks phenomenal. Still looks very modern to
Yeah.
this day, very playable, very difficult, and a lot of fun with an incredible soundtrack.
Well-
So that is going to be a really, really fun thing to have on the system.
They confirmed that these GameCube titles are going to have upscaled graphics, which fantastic. Yeah, like they don't have to resell them that way. Like that's why we didn't get an upscaled Wind Waker release. It's because it's going to be upscaled through the GameCube app.
Yeah, we
Love
should
it.
talk about that. This is obviously RIP Wind Waker Twilight Princess remakes. You think we're just going to get Twilight Princess on this eventually?
I think they're gonna hold Twilight Princess for the Wii Virtual Console. That's
Really?
my tinfoil hat on this one.
You don't think
Let's
you don't
do
think
that.
they'll Skyward Sword remake it because of motion controls?
No,
options?
I think the way that people most played Twilight Princess was on the Wii with the motion controls.
Right, but the GameCube is
So-
like the better way to play it. I understand that.
Technically, yes. However, that's not how most people remember that game. A lot of people don't even know that was a GameCube game. I know we're a Nintendo podcast. We know all these things, but like when you mention it to normies, I don't know. I hate to use that phrase, but it's like they don't
Sure.
they don't
Okay.
even realize.
Boring,
People not
boring
like-
people is what you're trying to say.
I mean, people who
Let
aren't like
non-sophisticates.
in
yeah.
the news cycle and obsess over details like we do. Yeah. I hear
Yeah,
you.
but Summer, you do bring up an interesting point. I could see them doing a Skyward Sword specifically with Twilight Princess as its own bespoke re-release.
You know, because the version on the Switch, people like it for the ability to switch back and forth between. Like, there are some moments that you want to play motion control, and there are moments that you definitely don't want to play motion control. So, I could see Twilight Princess getting that treatment. Hard to say. Or they
I
might
would
just
love
put it
to
on
see
this.
it.
Yeah.
Well, then we got another bunch of third-party games. So opening up with Deltarune
Whew!
and the announcement of some additional chapters there.
Yes.
Yes.
Another
Summer?
example similarly to Hades 2, where, and I'd kind of been predicting this, that yes, it's going to release to everything. Like Toby Fox
published that on his socials afterwards. Like, it's also going to release on everything else on the same day. But the fact that it was beholden to the Switch 2 getting its releases to everything, but only on the day that the Switch 2 comes out are we also getting chapters 3 and 4. So exciting. And yeah, hearing that theme song, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. How exciting.
Yeah, this is great. This was the part in the live stream where Nintendo's like stream got totally fucked up and it was like frozen for a while. And there was just like audio playing over a lot of stuff. So some of this I missed on the first watch through, but yeah, the stuff shown off here, it was Borderlands 4, Civilization 7, 2K showed off what was it, WWE 2K and NBA 2K. There was a game called Survival Kids. Enter the Gungeon 2 was shown, which is really exciting. I kind of forgot that game existed, so a sequel to that is I'm actually really looking forward to that. Star Seeker was another game. And then I think the two big ones here that a lot of people didn't realize, were Final Fantasy VII Remake, which, had been often rumored that was coming, and Cyberpunk 2077 Complete Edition. So that's going to have the DLC added into it, all the updates and everything like that. I am a huge fan of Cyberpunk 2077. I haven't played it in a really long time. I don't think I'm going to double dip because I do have it on my Steam Deck and on my Xbox, so I've kind of already double dipped in a way. So I'm not going to get it on the Switch, even though I want to, just for the novelty of it. But that game has become so good since it first came out, and it's great that the first way that people are going to be playing it on a Switch console is this full complete edition. But man, Cyberpunk is such a good game.
Anybody want to mention any of those? Are y'all ready to move on along? I mean, there's a lot there, but
I'm ready to move it along to the sizzle reel where I really want to talk about one thing, but
we know what you would talk about.
Well, I'll probably want to talk about it too, but the sizzle reel, we don't have to talk about all these games because there were a ton. A lot of them were from that Switch 1 Direct as well, or a lot of games kind of got a little mention here. But I think maybe what Jordan wants to mention is that Silk Song was the second game shown off, and they put 2025, and I don't trust it. I'm just gonna say I don't believe it.
It's vaporware. It's vaporware. Let's call it.
Well, the Xbox showcase in 2022, 2023. I think it was 2022, but it might have been 2023. Said it was coming out that year, and it didn't. So until Team Cherry puts it out, and it is on my screen, and I see the main menu, I don't believe that it exists.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I was excited to see 3 new seconds of this game and just it being mentioned. But I was like, 2025, I'll believe it when Team Cherry says this game is coming out on this day. Because they have just been radio silence. And I'm sure they are getting blown up on the internet today. But I think it's the only thing that gives me hope is that I feel like Hollow Knight was such a huge success on the Nintendo Switch itself that they gave them the go-ahead to put this clip into this sizzle reel. And for some reason, that gives me a little bit more hope than the Xbox sizzle reel.
Before we move on from Silk Song, just one quick anecdote. I was watching this with my kid, and my wife was downstairs. She didn't want to watch it with us because she had already read about this stuff, and she's not as big into it as us. And so,
but she read about it.
But she read about it to kind of know the big picture stuff.
Sure.
And she really only cares about Animal Crossing. But this came up on stream, and my son and I both screamed 2025 at the same time, which is funny that he's picked up on this too. And then she goes, Animal Crossing coming out this year? And I'm like, no, sorry, we're not Animal Crossing. Sorry.
Definitely get your wife into Tomodachi Life, by the way. I think that would be a really good game for your family. Yeah. But
in 2026 we will.
In 2026? A couple ones I really want to quickly shout out. Nabunga got in there. Nabunga's Ambition. Sorry, I just think that's going to be a running joke for me now on this podcast. Is Nobunaga's Ambition. Remake is coming out for the Switch, but I just really like how Patrick said Nobunga last episode. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. Crazy title, but it looks like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of its own, which is odd. I actually never picked up that game, so I'm excited for that. Fortnite for the Fortnite girlies is coming. I'm just excited for that because Fortnite is like pretty much unplayable on
It's
the
gotten so
Switch.
bad. Yeah, looking forward to it.
I think with every update makes Fortnite more and more unplayable.
It's interesting when you go to the list of games that have issues at the start that Nintendo has released on their website. Every single title that has problems says something like issue is being looked into, except for Fortnite, and Fortnite just says new version will be coming out for Nintendo Switch 2. So interesting.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
And last thing I wanted to shout out was Ridge Racer is coming to Arcade Archives 2. So it looks like with the Nintendo Switch 2, the Arcade Archive series is also moving into 3D games. So that's really exciting. Arcade Archives has a ton of releases on Switch. This is basically a Nintendo exclusive arcade, preservation series, right? And that has tons and tons of games in the pixel art era on the Switch. So the fact that they're moving into 3D games for Nintendo Switch 2 got me really excited, and I love Ridge Racer. So that's really great to see.
All right, we're getting close here to finishing this out. The next announcement was a weird one, but maybe it makes sense. And that was the new From Software game, The Dusk Bloods, which appears to be sort of vampire From Soft game.
Bloodborne, not Bloodborne.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is a Switch 2 exclusive. So that's what they said. I'm having a hard time believing it.
What a huge weird get.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense to me though. Like it's Bloodborne-avania. It's like Bloodborne was a PS4 exclusive. FromSoft is not afraid to make a console exclusive. And I think David said it in the Discord, is like, or on his stream, it was Sony fumbled the bag with Bloodborne and they're not doing anything with that IP. And I feel like FromSoft still wants to play in that world. And this looks like they're like, okay, well, we're going to make Bloodborne 2. We're not going to call it Bloodborne 2, and we're going to make it slightly different. Vampires now. Like, incredible.
Yeah, and Austin is right in the chat. This is a multiplayer focused game. This is not going to just be a single player. Because when I saw it, I was like, Eldenborn or Blood Ring or whatever you want to call it. It's what it seemed like an open world Bloodborne. But this is a PvPvE sort of situation. I am seeing some interesting stuff on the stream there. But
Y'all didn't see any of that, okay?
Awesome.
What?
We love
What
that.
are you talking about?
I don't know. Yeah.
Didn't see anything.
But it's just, either way, whether this is like FromSoft kind of spin-off, sort of multiplayer spin-off sort of situation or whatever, this is a huge get. And clearly I think Nintendo dropped a big bag at Miyazaki's feet and was like, please give people that are non-Nintendo gamers another reason to come here, because man, those FromSoft games are really popular amongst people that do not own Nintendo consoles, right? So if there's an exclusive one on a Nintendo console and it looks good and the graphics are good and it plays well, I think that's going to be a real system seller, actually. I think out of all of the games shown at this presentation, that to me felt like the biggest system seller of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct.
All right, well, we got to close out the presentation. We had two final sort of Switch game announcements. One was sort of a quick teaser, and that is Kirby Air Riders. I'm having a hard time saying that. We didn't see a lot of this, right? It was just kind of a cinematic and then a reveal of who the director is, which is funny that it was Sakurai, if you didn't know already. But it's just funny that was a big selling point, which it is. But I don't know I guess we should talk about that. What do we think about this Kirby Air Riders? They didn't even give a vague date, right? I don't even know. Did they give us 2026 or anything?
It's 2025.
2025.
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, on the website, it's been seen that there are different code names for some of these games. I think that it'll be Mario Kart, then Donkey Kong, then this. I don't think that they'll all be that far apart. So this is pretty exciting. I think that we could probably
August
expect this by summer or fall at the latest. Yeah.
I just want to say, Who else thought that this was going to be Smash at the very beginning of the
I did.
cinematic?
Yeah, I did.
How many of us were
Yeah.
like tentatively saying at our TVs, "Oh wait, is this Smash?"
Yeah, I definitely was. Yeah. But this is better. Honestly, I'm happy that Patrick, don't look at me like that. I think that, but I think this is good. Like, I'm glad that Masahiro Sakurai is like making a game that he wants to make here. Like, there's no way that Nintendo was like, Sakurai, we need you to come back for one game, but please make it beat Kirby's Air Ride. You know what I mean? Like, they want him to make another Smash, right? Like, obviously, this is clearly like, this is what Sakurai wanted to do, right? And so I think that that's great. And I think we talked about this in a previous episode. I think a lot of the old guard of Nintendo, they're just letting them make what they want to make. And I think that is very clearly what's happening here. And that's exciting, man. And Kirby's Air Ride is an awesome game. And the fact that we're getting a brand new one, it's like a sequel, it's not a remake. You know, I think that's great. I was a little disappointed. I was really thinking this would be Kid Icarus, you know, but I think they could still do a Kid Icarus remaster. I don't think Sakurai needs to be involved in that necessarily. Either way, I think this game is done. You know, I think that Sakurai's been working on this game for years at this point, right? Like, we know that based on his YouTube channel. So I'm really excited to play this later this year. This is going to be an instant buy for me.
I'm really curious though. It's like, so between Mario Kart World, the GameCube NSO with F-Zero GX, and Kirby's Kirby Air Riders. Sorry, I have a hard time saying it too. That's 3 racing games in 1 year. Like, what makes this so much different than the other 2 titles that makes me want to buy this game?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Kirby.
But we'll
Koyo.
see. I mean, I'm sure we'll see more about it. Yeah.
Koyo.
Well, it seems like maybe it's just a different audience. Like, Austin and Drew are real excited about it in our chat right now and talking about it, and like not as interested in Mario, it sounds like. So maybe that's part of it, is like, but yeah, it is a little weird. I don't know.
Also, F-Zero GX and Fast Fusion, also Fast RMX sequel here as well. There was a lot of racing in this.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on then to the final announcement. You got something else, Jordan? Did I cut you off?
No, I was just like, I'm sorry to be a downer, but I was just like, this is so many racing games in 1 year. I'm not a huge racing game fan, but
Yeah, me either.
Have you played Kirby's Air Ride?
no.
The
I
distinction
mean,
is
Kirby's
that
Air Ride is. Yeah, I would say it's almost more
It's a-
exploration
it's a
3D
Kirby
platformer. Than,
game.
yeah.
it's a
It is-
Kirby game.
Yeah, you're gonna like this one a lot. It's Kirby's. I honestly can't believe you've never played Kirby's Air Ride. It is a really cool game. You're gonna really enjoy this.
I was just really hoping it'd come to the NSO app at some point and I could
And
play it.
It might still.
Still could. Yeah.
It still could. We've seen that with games like being on having a. This is a new game entirely. Like, it's not a remake. They've made that distinction, but also games getting remade and games being on NSO have not contradicted each other either. So it could still come to NSO. We've seen games be remade and then get added to NSO. We've seen games get added to NSO and then still get a remake released. So it could still come out.
Well, the final announcement and big sort of, presuming this feels like the big game they're going to be pushing other than the Mario Kart game, is Donkey Kong Bananza. Is that how we say it? Bananas.
Bonanza.
Bonanza. It's spelled like banana,
Perfect,
and that's
a perfect title. Also,
and
Yes.
and it's a 3D platformer game with the sort of new Donkey Kong movie-like model, lots of expressions, and you can destroy everything in the map, it looks like, almost, or at least parts of the world. This game looks pretty cool. I don't know what else to say.
Fun. Hey, I want to remind everyone I'm in my Shrek era right now, which means cool is dead. It's dumb. Come have fun. And this Donkey Kong
you might as well
Bonanza
be
looks
walking on the sun. You know.
fun. Yeah.
I'm a believer.
So I don't know, there's like a lot of crystals and a little crystal or rock pal or something on your shoulder. I don't know what's going on with that exactly.
It's a cappy, essentially. It's like this is so clearly made by the Odyssey team, right? Like, and it's like it looks like Odyssey, where you can destroy everything, right? It's like Odyssey mixed with like Breath of the Wild and Donkey Kong. It's just like what? Those are like those are like my 3 favorite things.
I was kind of thinking that this is the Odyssey for the Switch 2. Yeah.
It feels like it.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
What a
I
great
don't-
way to showcase like the new technology too, because like just the amount of destructible environments and being able to like dig and everything in this game like probably would have chugged like crazy on the original Switch. So like yeah, what a good showpiece for your new hardware as a whole too.
Yeah. Apologies to my dad, but I came in my pants when I saw this. It was truly insane to see this happen. This was like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I mean, I am in a big 3D platformer era right now, and I am a huge fucking Donkey Kong fan, dude. And like, there's like that one bit where it's like side scrolling and it looks just like Donkey Kong Country. It's got the same trees and everything. It was like, holy smokes, like this game was like made for me. The Junji Ito meme. This is mine. It was made for me. You know, like I am so excited for this. And it's just like, man, thank God they redesigned Donkey Kong because he is so expressive in this. He has so many facial expressions. The animation looks incredible. You know, I can't wait for this. And it's coming out like a month after the Switch 2 comes out, right? So I am very excited to play this come July.
I thought oh yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
I just had one question, Matthew, as the lore head. Which Donkey Kong is this?
That's a great question. I would say I don't fucking know, Jordan. I have no idea. I don't know. Donkey Kong.
Senior.
Ladies and gentlemen, I
Yeah,
stumped
yeah.
him.
You got me. Who knows?
Yeah.
I really love the trailer too. I think what I like about it is it showed Donkey Kong just kind of being a badass and destroying everything, and so I was kind of like, this almost looks like you just beat everything up and it's not hard at all. And then they kind of showed all these villains and they showed Donkey Kong being scared, and I just like the trailer had a really nice arc where it's like you get to feel powerful, but there's also difficulty, and I don't know, just wanted to mention that.
Totally. Yeah. The last thing I'll say is this game takes place entirely underground, which is interesting. And I just think it's funny that it takes place in like the Hollow Earth, essentially, like the Kong, you know, the new like Kong movies in the MonsterVerse. So that's just funny to me that they decided to go that route. Yeah, and it looks great. I can't wait. I already spotted a bunch of like Donkey Kong Country references in this, like to the rare Donkey Kong games. So I just, this is going to be a love letter to that franchise. I can already tell. I'm really
Did
excited.
we see any like Diddy, Dixie, any other
No.
Kong? Just Donkey
Maybe
Kong?
they're holding them for a sequel, or they'll reveal them later in the game. But there are other monkeys. I think the
Yeah.
bad guys are all also apes.
When they also
Okay.
showed other apes like doing work at the very beginning, but they were more monkey-like, like Diddy, but they weren't Diddy. But
Mm. And we didn't see any King K. Rool either.
yeah,
No.
So brand new villain, possibly.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe he'll come back as like an ally or something. But yeah.
well, that was it, gang. I mean, what else is there to talk about? The price and how you get it, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, let's talk
Release
price.
date.
The $449 for the system itself. Excuse me, which is I think more than most people were anticipating, right? Certainly more than I thought. I thought it was going to be $399, and then $499 for the console with Mario Kart. What do you guys think? It's pretty pricey.
Sure. No, sure. I'm in. Whatever. I just feel like it's like if I'm willing to spend $400, I'm willing to spend $450. Like, who am I kidding? In this day and age, in this economy, it makes sense. Whatever. Just the fact that it's portable already makes it like more of a sell to me, because I can go get a PS5, I can go get an Xbox Series X. They're both still going to be $500. So for $50 cheaper, I can get a console that plays some of the same games, and I can take it with me everywhere I go. That to me is worth it personally. So the $450 sticker price, I wasn't super shocked, especially considering how much a Steam Deck costs.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. What about y'all?
Yeah, now that weird like right-wing commenter is gone, I can freely talk about tariffs. Just later in the day, today, more tariffs on more countries got announced arbitrarily. If you want to look into it, a lot of these numbers are just so made up. But wasn't it like it's effectively speculated that a lot of the production for the Switch 2 was moved to, I believe, what was it? Vietnam and Thailand
Yep.
in order to avoid tariffs, and they just got hit with tariffs. I think I do think that is part of this pricing was in anticipation of that. Japan has also been hit. Not that our systems are coming from Japan, but it might impact why in Japan the price is different for an all Japanese language Switch versus like a fully like region free Switch. I think that's very interesting. That is probably part of that as well. So acknowledging just all of that. Do I like theoretically think that I'm toying with the idea of maybe not getting it at launch just because of the price? Like, yes. Am I going to get it at launch? Yeah, probably.
I mean, we host a Nintendo podcast, but yeah, I don't know. It's expensive, yes, but also a lot has changed since the Switch came out, and that was $299, right? 150 more for a much more powerful system in an era of, handheld PCs that have similar specs that are like $700, $800. Looking at like the ROG Ally and stuff like that. The baseline Steam Deck is cheaper, but also baseline Steam Deck is not as powerful as a Switch 2. It seems it doesn't have the full feature set, right? So I think $450 in today's day and age of rampant inflation and tech coming out more expensive, tariffs, like you said, I think $450 is about the peak that I would have been okay with. I think that if this was system only $500, I think I would have been pretty miffed at the price. But I think getting a $80 game for $50 on top of a $450 console, it's going to be an expensive ask right at the top, right? It's always going to be whenever you get a new console, and you just kind of have to save up a little bit, right? And bite the bullet as best you can. So I'm not mad, but I am a little surprised.
Yeah, I think that point about saving up too, right? Like I think I've been thinking about this, but then also like, oh, clock is ticking and it's a little more expensive than I thought. And also I think I'm gonna spring for that extra $50 because it saves me money, air quotes. Right? Like so then it is a little bit like, oh shit, I gotta figure this out if I want to get it day one.
Yeah. And I want that new Mario Kart, guys. Like,
Yeah.
It looks so good.
I know it's more expensive. Sorry, I'm a Nintendo cuck. Sorry to David's dad in chat.
It's okay. My dad knows cuck.
Is that something you should share with her?
No, I didn't mean that. That came out really wrong. Sorry, Dad. Hopefully he's fallen asleep at this point, actually.
I want it. I want it. I want to have it. I'm sorry. I want it.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Yeah, I think, the Switch 2 lands itself. Its competition is both these portable PCs and console games. And so $450 is more expensive than the Switch, but competitively priced when compared to like portable PCs with the specifications. But if you compare them to like consoles, your Series X or PS5, it's more expensive. But then it also offers portability. So I think it is somewhere in the middle of that. And also just like stating more than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
But price, in my opinion, competitively given the changing ecosystem.
Well, how do we get this thing? I'll be honest, this is the part where I've kind of heard some stuff, but I'm a little bit checked out. I know there's pre-orders coming.
Yeah.
Do we not know? Do we not know how to do
I
this?
added this on the notes.
No.
Matt, you go.
So pre-order start April 9th. That's a week from now. You can pre-order in multiple places, but one place you can pre-order is through Nintendo. They're trying to do an anti-scalper situation thing. And you have to have a Nintendo account. You have to have at least 50 hours of gameplay on your original Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo has to have that data to be able to track 50 hours. So you got to make sure you're sharing your gameplay data with Nintendo. It's like your
Whoa.
privacy settings. So that's one thing that Nintendo is doing that you can pre-order through Nintendo, but you can also pre-order through all the other retailers.
It's weird. There's like you can like register your interest on the Nintendo website. Like right now, I've already done that for the bundle version. But I would recommend still trying to get a pre-order through retailers on April 9th, because it seems like the actual pre-ordering period starts in May from Nintendo's official website. I think that's what I read. I might be wrong on that, but
No,
so
that's
it's
correct.
like, I think the play, if you're listening right now, what I'm going to do, and what I would recommend everybody here that's trying to get one on day one would do, is try to pre-order from Best Buy. Because I know that Best Buy is doing a midnight launch for the first time in forever. They're actually going to open at midnight for this thing. And on Nintendo's website, it even says that they can't guarantee that you'll get it on launch day because of shipping and stuff like that, right? So obviously, if that was like a guarantee, I'd be like, yeah, I feel a lot better about that. But I'd much rather have this thing the fucking moment it comes out, right? And have it in hand and not have to worry about if they could track my 50 hours or whatever, right?
And I just miss the camaraderie of lining up and getting something at midnight. I want to be with everybody else. I would love to be hanging out with everyone else for an hour or so. That once this, like, I'm ready to like call up my local Best Buy and see if they want to do any, like, if they're not already planning it, right? Like any kind of like build up party to it releasing, because how exciting. We truly haven't done this kind of thing since 2019, any kind of midnight release.
I did Tears of the Kingdom, and it was very fun. There was a line of like 150 people at my local GameStop. It was actually really crazy. I was just like, I was blown away because I was like, this is not a thing anymore. And then I was like, oh, this is totally a thing now, again, finally. But yeah, the whole thing seems so odd that Nintendo's really coy about like, you register your interest, but of course, obviously they're not promising you a spot. But it's like, I don't know how many people are registering their interest versus how many like consoles they have on deck. So yeah, I'm like of the mind that I will be trying to go with like Best Buy or GameStop or some large retailer that I know will get a large stock of these things.
Yeah.
I know Best Buy also has like some sort of yearly subscription thing where if you buy Nintendo Switch gear, you can get some money back in the form of like gift cards. Yeah. So that seems like a weird game to play, but I might try to play that game just to get a little bit of a cheaper system or cheaper games a little bit further down the line, of which I know I'm going to buy anyway.
Yeah, you talk about that rewards makes me realize we didn't get any kind of news about any sort of replacement for the gold point system.
Nope.
We didn't get a lot of talk about the eShop. We didn't get a lot of talk about the UI. I think that this was an amazing presentation, and there's a lot of new information that we learned, which was really great to know. But I still think there is still a lot to learn about the Switch too, you know?
On Nintendo Today, over the next however long, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Where they're going to drop little breadcrumbs of all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, gang, I think that's going to do it for this part of our show. And I think it's finally time for us to take a short break.
That's true. This is the longest we've gone without a break. I got to piss.
Well, so we are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to do a little segment celebrating 300 episodes, answering a few questions, and talk about the games we've been playing recently, maybe just one or two, and then wrap it up. But yeah, all of that after this short break.
How long's our break? How long's our break?
All right. Hello again, everyone. We are back and we're going to be talking about the podcast now. This is episode 300. We've been doing this for over 6 years. We had our
Wow.
6-year anniversary back in late January, early February, however you want to think about it. But yeah, so this is a great time. We have Matt back. There's transitions happening with the Switch and with our show to celebrate a little bit, maybe reflect a little bit on the podcast, answer a few questions. We took a few in advance. I don't know if anybody has any comments or thoughts they want to share before that, or any quick things anybody wants to say. I don't know. I've got stuff to say, but I think I could tie in maybe a little bit to some of these
Sure.
questions
Yeah.
and comments.
I don't know. I mean, I think just generally, when I was like posting a little Instagram thing today, like just talking about the show and being like, hey, watch the 300th episode if you can. And man, it's just like so amazing that we've done this for this long and done a consistent thing like this. And we've never, ever skipped a week. Ever. Right?
Right.
Have we ever? I don't think so. We've always, anytime that
Had
we've
a
not
special.
recorded, we've put out a special, right? And so I think like, I don't know any other show, even the big podcasts I listen to will take off like a month or so, like over the, like the holidays or something like that. I don't know what that says about the kind of people we are. But I think like it's been such an incredible thing. And I think that like, it would seem like a lot of hard work, and a lot of times it is a lot of hard work, and I edit the podcast every week and that takes a lot of time, but it's like, man, I do it because like all the people in the chat here in the community and the Discord and like, like I just think we have the best community in the world, and on top of that, like I love you guys so much, I think like collaborating with all four of you has been like honestly one of my most like cherished kinds of relationships I've ever had in my life, creative or otherwise, right? And I think it's been such an amazing thing, and I just want to say thank you for sticking out this thing with me for 300 episodes. I know, Summer and Jordan, you guys came in a little newer, and Matt, you dipped out after a certain point, but it's like the fact that we've been doing this so consistently, and I think that the quality is maintained. I'm just really, really proud of the show, and I'm really proud of the working relationships that I've had with you guys. So I just wanted to say that and reflecting on 300 episodes here.
I think my my involvement has kind of come and gone over the past couple of years as my life is changing. But it is wild to see a podcast that we talked about 6 years ago and have it like an active Discord. When I see people playing in like voice chat and like scheduling games together, that's just like incredible. I love that. And it's just something really special. It's nice. It's nice to see that people are hanging out here.
Yeah, I this may be jumping ahead a tiny bit, but Karuseta said something in regards to this episode that really resonated with me, and I'm just going to read that real quick. He said, I don't have a question. I just want to say that you guys have built a community that's become a real friend group for me, and I appreciate it. And I'm like, same to you, Karuseta, and everybody, because I think like to extend what David, you were just saying a little, like one step further, is I consider not just the four of you, but like a lot of people in the chat and that aren't here today, maybe live, but also in our community, to be my friends, and like some of my closer friends, right? Like I don't hang out in person a lot with friends, just because of age and life stage and all that, but like I get to check in with all these cool people regularly, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's a really nice escape. It's a really nice thing to be able to look forward to. And as always, it's always felt way more like a fun thing I get to do than a responsibility that I have. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but it kind of sounds like that's what you're talking about a little bit, Patrick. Yeah.
I think for this community that what I really like is, when I was growing up being a gamer, you were like a nerd, or, there's like some amount of shame with like playing games. And then I grew up, and then there was like toxic gamer culture. And then I personally felt a little bit of shame about just the gamer culture at large. And the thing I really love about this community is I finally feel like proud to be a gamer and like enjoy my hobbies, because I know there are other people out there that are not like shitheads, which is just like really sounds so simple, but like I just love the community is just such a warm, inviting place for people and accepting, and a community that is not always as accepting in a world that is like not always as accepting. So I don't know, that's like what's I was just trying to reflect on like what does it actually mean to me to be part of this like Switch Headz community, and that's what at the core of it is, just like a nice accepting community of gamers that I'm proud to call myself a part of.
Yeah, now more than ever, it's like we're seeing such a rise of that terrible side of gaming.
Yeah,
and it's so nice to be away from that.
Well, we took in a lot of questions from various people, and I don't, we don't have time to answer all of them, and especially we don't have time for all 5 of us to answer all of them. I don't know if anybody here has had time to look over these, and if there's any they want to jump out and do. If not, I could start. It's another broad one, but I'm going to take Shade's question, and somebody else can answer this as well if you want to. But Shade asked that looking back on the past 8 years, what has the Switch 1 era meant to you? And like that's a really hard question for me to boil down into one thing, because the things we all just said fall under that answer. I think stepping aside from the community and the podcast and just talking about myself as a person, like in my family, it's also been a journey of teaching my son to play video games, and maybe this is a little bit of a spoiler for the games we've been playing recently, but he and I have been playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe a lot lately, just randomly, and we've been playing bingo battles, and he's beating the shit out of me. And like I'm really kind of pissed about it. Like because we used to play bingo battles and I would have the full handicap and I would still beat him, you know what I mean? And if I tried, and I wouldn't always try, because you gotta let your kid win sometimes. But now I am trying my damnedest, and he's beating, and he's like, I think you're just not using the cherries, and I'm like, shut up.
You can't tell your kids shut up, Pat.
Oh, you're okay. Well,
you gotta be nice.
I didn't say that, but but the point, but bringing it, like it's I don't know. It's been him experiencing my hobby, and it's been exploring games in new ways with y'all and with making games, and the Switch era has been really amazing for me. in all those different ways.
I can imagine what it's like for Magnus growing up in this like incredible era, golden era of Nintendo gaming.
Yeah.
So much third-party support, just like so many new features. Video gaming is bigger than ever. It's got to be incredible for him too.
It's pretty funny too, because I've really indoctrinated him, like in a lot of ways. And like these directs are happening, and I'm like, oh, did the kids talk about it at school? He's like, nobody talks about Nintendo Directs at school. Like, and I'm like, oh, he's like, I do, I know about them, but like, and he's talking about frame rates and like hitboxes and like
he's like a little game dev, like
he
like
is, and I mean,
God.
and he's in like, just he's getting really good at making games, and like he's got this really cool project that we're working on to get. Like, I am now kind of excited about one of his projects. That's a little side thing he's been making, and we're getting Weast to maybe make some music for it.
Yeah,
and,
awesome,
and like it's just been crazy, because like he knows more about Godot than I do. Now it's wild. So yeah, that's me.
For
Shade's question.
If I could answer Shade's question as well, I think just outside of course the whole community aspect of it, and the fact that this podcast would never exist. And this community wouldn't exist without the Nintendo Switch. I think there's a whole bunch of content creators that owe their whole livelihoods, not that we're making any money off this podcast, but livelihoods to the Switch, right? So that all aside, I just love that, the whole reason I wanted to make the Switch Headz Facebook group and community in the first place was because I felt like on such an island with the Wii U. right? And as a Nintendo gamer, and I think like early on in the Switch's life, I was like, this thing's going to be like the DS. Like it is going to be, everyone's going to have one. Non-gamers are going to have one. Randos, like normies are going to have one. And it's going to be this big thing. And I really want to like have that social experience that I didn't get to have with the Wii U or with some of these older consoles when I was younger, right? So I think the fact that like the Switch really took off was this cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just for kids. You know, lots of adult 20, 30, 40-year-old gamers like throughout this thing has been a really special thing, just to be able to just say with your full throat that you're a gamer and not have someone like scoff at you. You know what I mean? Like feels good, you know? And I think that's just, I think to me, the Switch era of Nintendo kind of encapsulates that feeling, right? Of kind of the almost the normalization of it in a way to, or the universalization of it, maybe I would say. And that's been really exciting to kind of bear witness to as somebody who's been a Nintendo gamer since I was like 2 or 3 years old, right?
We could spend the next 2 hours on this one question. If y'all are okay with moving to a new question,
Next
I wanted to
question,
take a question from Andrew Musel 2, A Musel 2. Are there any spin-off ideas you would like to see that haven't yet been explored by Nintendo franchise?
Yeah, I'm just going to preemptively go ahead and walk away from this one.
Yeah. Later, David. See you later. This is my podcast once again. I'm back. I thought about this. I want a Nintendo real-time strategy game, an RTS, or like a Sim, like a Sim City. Picture this, Captain Toad, Sim City.
Okay. I thought for sure you were going to say Captain Falcon Bounty Hunter.
Well, I didn't need to say it because you said it right now.
God damn it! I did it again.
That's the bit. You walked right into it. So,
I know.
I that's earnestly. I would love to see an RTS, anything by Nintendo.
Yeah. I know it was discussed on the spin-off episode that was just like dreaming up spin-offs, but it's been latched in my brain ever since. I think, especially because this IP is considered part of the Big Four, I think it would be great to see a Splatoon spin-off game. It is the only game in the Big Four that doesn't have anything other than its flagship, like 1, 2, 3 games.
Agreed.
So would love to see a Splatoon spin-off. Would love to see something like an idle management simulator. I know that's exactly like what was already discussed. Something that leans more into the idols. Or God, I mean, this could just be like the ex-Love Live gamer in me now that we don't have that anymore. If it was like a rhythm game similar to what like Love Live used to look like, and like an idle management sim, which is kind of what those idle games are, would love something like that.
Any Splatoon spinoff, battle royale,
Sure.
rhythm game,
Yeah.
any of that kind of stuff would be amazing. Give me physical table turf. That's all I need.
Yeah, a card game is actually what we'll
Yeah,
get. No, truly,
exactly.
something that is like more focused on the music that is already so much integrated into the canon. Yeah.
Anybody else want to take a question?
I will also go with Emusel's 2-week paid vacation with the reasonable expenses covered starting tomorrow. Where are you and friends and family packing your bags and traveling to? I've always wanted to go to Japan, and I would say that, but I've really recently had Barcelona on the mind. I would love to go. Like, I've been thinking a lot about recently how crazy it is that we live in the same time that Sagrada de Familia is finally going to be finished. This 130-year project is finally going to be finished. I think if it's not this year, it's in 2026. And you're going to be able to finally visit the full cathedral. And the original architect is long dead, Gaudi. And like, something about that idea of seeing something that has like been in the works for so long finally come to fruition is really beautiful to me. And I think like for me personally, I would love to go to Barcelona and see that.
That's cool. I didn't actually know that fact. I've been to Barcelona, and it was just like, I can't think of the word now. Whatever they call the when you're constructing something, is just all over the place.
Scaffolding.
Yes, scaffolding. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. I
can always pull out.
That's cool.
Architecture terms if you ever need it. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool, Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a fun. I mean, I would just go back to Japan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like want to go to Japan like once a year now. Now that I've been, it's an amazing place. I basically want to live there. Now I'm weeb witched.
Yes,
Anyway.
no. I mean, my answer is the same. Yeah, I would love to go to Japan. I would just absolutely adore being able to go to Japan. My mom ended up being bummed that we couldn't go to Japan for the Cubs opener this year because it was the week before I was going to the Dominican Republic. I was like, Mom, seriously, if it
Oh.
wasn't already, if I was like. And it's like not even the expenses of it. It was just like I can't take that much time off of work, like at one time. So yeah, Japan obviously for me. Yeah.
Yeah. The huge Jay, we love Jay, asked a question, last minute question. Now that the direct has happened, which individual piece of news are you each excited for most? And I went into the direct being like, I can't wait to see the hardware. I can't wait to see like what they're going to be doing next with the system. I left just wanting to fucking play that Donkey Kong game right now. Like that was far and away the hypest part of the direct for me. I thought that just looked incredible. It looked like the game it looked like the 3D Donkey Kong game I've always wanted to play. Maybe I'll say it like that. Obviously, there's still a lot more to see. It is looking a little Red Faction guerrilla right now with all the destruction. So we'll see like how that kind of plays in. But boy, howdy, does that look fun. And I love just anything new Donkey Kong. And it's also great, like having done this podcast for a while and like tracked all of the like droplets of Donkey Kong news and releases that Nintendo's been doing like over the last like 3 months leading up to this and being like, what do they have in store? And then seeing it and it's that. Yes, please. I am so excited for that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it a lot on the podcast, but if you get the chance and if you're into this aspect like I am, definitely watch the extended trailer for the upgrades to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. That might actually be what I'm the most excited about. I think I might be replaying through those games. You're going to get a new save slot in both of those, so that way you don't have to restart your original. And it's yes, it is like that app integration, but it's also the voice memos. We're getting so much more additional lore. Looks like there's also a bunch of other like icons within the Zelda app. It is funny that the NSO app is like other apps within the app, right? Like how the Splatoon and Animal Crossing apps work. Yeah. So it's like that. And there's a couple of icons on there that were not explained and are not things that just like exist yet in the game, like item sharing. So let's go. They're adding like a bunch of quality of life updates to those games and lore, extra features that I think is going to make playing those games just a totally refreshing. So really, really excited about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do the next question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So next question we got from Cool Uncle Vince. Will the Zelda movie, currently scheduled for March 27th, 2027, be released before or after episode 400? Realistically, before, but for the bit, it's going to be day and date episode 400. We're going to rent out a movie theater with 400 Switch heads, including ourselves, and we're all going to watch the Zelda movie live together and do a live react. That's going to be the 400th episode.
Okay.
I'm calling it right now. Babe Ruth.
Hell yeah.
This is
I'm
where
down.
Patreon money's going to.
yeah.
2027 Zelda movie.
And for
We
people
have
who
just
can't,
been kind of pooling that Patreon money. We got to do some of that.
people who can't physically show up will be game chatted in through the Switch 2.
Yes.
You can watch the Zelda movie at 5 frames per second on a small screen.
On
God.
Nintendo's exclusive webcam.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the 3DS all over again, just recording it.
Cool Uncle Vince had a bunch of questions about episode 400. By episode 400, Patrick, will you have finally played Side Order?
Ooh,
Yes.
they might add that.
Fucking about time.
I
dude.
bet they'll add it.
Come on.
There's a bunch of things that they're still like holding.
I am truly like so mad that you haven't played that.
Oh man.
I'll take Cool Uncle Vince's next question. Will Pokemon Gen 10 be out by then? And what's its name? And the answer is yes. And the name is Pokemon 2.
Purple.
Oh,
Pokemon 2. I think it's gonna be Pokemon Left and Right.
get out of here.
Whoa.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Pokemon Democrat and Republican.
And then the like DLC or sequel or third entry is going to be like Pokemon Vertical. It's like their way of getting around,
Pokemon
like up and
That's
down.
great. Yeah, I like that a lot.
What about Pokemon? What are some of the Splatoon things? Ketchup and mustard.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Pokemon Past and Future.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're Zelda.
Oh, that was- okay.
Yeah, we did have a question in
Just
here as
scrolling
well. Yeah, right. We did have a question in here just about like favorite eps. We kind of talk about this every time we hit 100 episode marks. I'm really happy and proud that we finally went back and did another Now That's What I Call Music episode recently. That was such a blast for me. Matt, you killed the art on that one as well. I really loved that. And so that is stuff I want to do more of, you know. I think like I want to get like more interesting like interviews, and I think we've been doing a lot of great like interviews recently, which I've been really enjoying, but I also really like kind of more high concept episodes as well. So that's really exciting to me, and I love doing that. I love doing like the another one that I really enjoyed was the like the movie pitches episode and stuff like that. Episodes that are kind of gamey, you know, like are really fun to me. I think those are some of my favorites. But do you guys have any favorites that you can think of off the top of your head?
I wanted to piggyback off you, just like, you know, I feel like I maybe answered part of this question, but out of the last 100 episodes, one of my favorites was honestly that 1000 Times Resist interview. It was just super fascinating to hear about the creative process behind that game, and was like, oh no, like that's why I want to continue doing this podcast, is like hearing about creators and why they make games and how they make games is like fascinating to me and will never be boring. So for me, that was personally one of my favorite episodes as of late.
Yeah, I think some of my favorites are when we when we have specialized guests on to talk about like a super specialized topic. So one of my some of my favorite episodes, I loved it when we dove into Nintendo's arcade history.
I love that episode.
Right,
yeah.
we had Mia Crystal Pepsi on, who is a mechanic for arcade games. So really fascinating to get her perspective on that, and just fun to talk about an entirely different avenue of Nintendo games. And also really loved when we had Robbie Trevino on to talk about the importance of concept art. I think it is a super important topic to talk about anymore, especially. And just a really good reminder that concept artists are still highly important to the entire process, cannot be replaced, are just a crucial part of it. And I adored everything, and he had a lot to say, and it's awesome, and go listen to it. And the whole time I was just like, yes, talk more.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I don't know about favorite episodes, but like kind of like y'all were talking about highlights of the last 100, a few interesting ones. For me, having DCD on to talk about real golf versus video game golf, and using
That's
that
an all-timer, dude.
I brought that
is an
episode up like
all-timer.
several times too in the past week. Like,
We've been wanting to do that episode forever. I'm so glad we finally did it.
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Also having Liana Rupert on for the industry layoffs
Ooh.
episode was a big one in the last 100. And then this isn't exactly because of the episode, but because of what happened because of it. Having Rusty and Jeff Fillion on for the Astro Duel 2 episode led to me hiring Jeff to do work on my game and making a new good friend as well, with Jeff and him doing awesome art for my game. And that's just like really weird and cool thing that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been an amazing thing about this podcast, is just all the connections we've made with everybody, like over, you know, all the guests, the friends on the Discord that have then become guests, and all that kind of stuff. It's been a really magical thing. But Matt, do you have one?
There's a lot. I had so much fun making the Xenoblade lore episode with Emma and DCD. Just so much fun.
You playing Chronicles X?
I will on Switch 2 when we didn't get the fucking announcement and we know it's there from the leaks. I'll play it on Switch 2.
All right, got it. We got to do a follow up. That's all I'm saying.
We will.
Yeah,
I'll have thoughts.
Well, gang, as we kind of bring this part to a close, is there anything else anybody wants to say, or any other things you want to answer or talk about?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to give a shout out to just like everybody we talked about earlier who have been telling a lot of those stories about how they found the podcast. DCD made a great one. Shout out DCD who's been here in the chat. Also, DCD in the chat said favorite episode is the strategy guide episode. I agree. That was such a good one as well. But yeah, I think just hearing everybody's stories about how they found the podcast and even just like talking to people personally, last time I was in Chicago, I was hanging out with Molly and just like talking about like how she found the podcast and then introduced friends to it. And that's how we got like Robo Lettuce and all these like fun people in our community. And so it's like just seeing all the connections that are made is really special to me. I also just wanted to maybe talk a little bit about the future of the show. And, I don't have any like hard like facts or ideas on exactly where the show is going to go in the future, but I know I'm in it to win it here. I love doing this podcast. I definitely want to stick around and keep doing it. Patrick, obviously we're going to miss you a lot, and having your presence on the show is going to be a huge blow, I think to the show in a lot of ways, but I think it's also a bit of an opportunity to try some new things. I don't know exactly what form the show will take, but I think that there's been a lot of things we've wanted to try for a while that now with you kind of passing on the torch of your duties and also the Switch 2 coming out, it kind of all feels like it's sort of timing out into something really interesting. And so I just want to say definitely in the next like few weeks and months as we're going forward with the show, definitely be patient with us as we maybe try some new things and maybe finally take a week off. That's not confirmed. I might not be able to like stay away because there's so much constantly happening and I'm a big yapper. I'm sure everybody knows this. But I just hope that you guys, and I'm talking to the audience here, you guys can be patient with us as we kind of figure out what form the show takes in kind of a post Switch 1, post Patrick, post Matt world, and I just think that there's like a lot of opportunity there to do some really interesting things. And I know I personally still have bucket list guests that I want to get on. I know I'm fired up by the future of the games industry right now. I think the fact that we've got a union right now is really exciting. I think things are finally looking up for a lot of game developers and interesting things are happening within that space. So I just want to say I'm really excited going forward. Obviously heartbroken and sad to lose you, Patrick, but I do think that also the future of this podcast is really bright. And if all of you guys here in the chat are like still willing to go on this journey with us, we'd love to still have you. And I love this live format, so maybe we'll be doing more of that. So, but no promises. We're still figuring it all out. We still have lots of meetings and discussions to have about the show. But at the very least, I can say right now, merch is coming.
Well, I think that's maybe a good point for us to roll into maybe the next and final part of this show, which is the games that we've been playing. So I kind of hinted at the one game I wanted to talk about already, and that is I've been playing a lot of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which feels very full circle for me to talk about here on this episode, being the last one I'll be on for a little while maybe. And basically, I think because of the dearth or the lack of new Nintendo games, we've been playing a lot of Steam games. We've been doing a lot of game dev stuff here at the house, but my son was like, I really want to play a Nintendo game. And we just landed on Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which I still think is the best Pikmin game. And because you can play 2-player co-op in the campaign. So we played through the campaign, beat it, and then we've just been playing a lot of bingo battles. And as I said, proud and frustrating dad moment of losing to my son. It was like a 2 out of 3. Let's go 3 out of 5. Let's go 5 out of 7. Okay, you won. I guess all of those. So
very cool.
Use the cherries, I guess.
I'll go next. I have been playing like a few games on and off, but the main thing I've been playing, or that I streamed particularly recently, was there was a big free update for the Myst remake that came out in 2021. So Myst, when it was re-released as a 3D game was called Real Mist, and it had this new age within it. Also, if you're watching right now, I've got a little bit of footage from a YouTube creator whose name is Crossplay Gaming. So shout out to him for providing some of this footage. But basically, Real Mist added this like final age to the original Myst game when you're playing around in 3D, and it was not in the more recent Unreal remake. And out of nowhere, Cyan just dropped this as a free update to the game, which was really great. And they actually added a bunch of cool stuff. They added lore to it. They added stuff that connects it to the more recent Riven remake that they did. And it's just simply gorgeous. It was so much fun to play. It's a short and sweet little thing. Rhyme was never meant to be anything more than just kind of like a little bow on the end of the story. It's not like a huge amount of puzzles or anything, but it's got like one big puzzle that you do that gives you little Easter eggs kind of looking at the rest of the game. So that was a real pleasant surprise. And I also do just want to give a shout out to our friends at Cyan. I know they're also going through a lot of layoffs right now. And so I just want to have this be an opportunity to continue to shout out the Myst and Riven games because they are really incredible. They could really use our support. I think that there's some of the best game developers out there right now, and they are truly in it for the love of the game. So if you can go out and like buy a couple Cyan games, that would make me really happy because I love proselytizing the series. And I think it would also do wonders for that little indie studio that has the heart of a big AAA company.
I'll go next. I am finally playing The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I recently finished Prince of Persia The Lost Crown and I said, okay, what's next? Went to my backlog and I said, it's time. I have to play this game. I can't believe it took me this long. It's incredible. I love it so much. It is like, you know, the last 2D original Zelda game we got was what? Link Between Worlds, which I also loved. And it took like what I liked about that game, mixed it with what I liked about Tears of the Kingdom, and kind of made this weird amalgamation. It's like really bizarre to like be playing a Zelda game where combat is a focus but also isn't a focus, like in a really weird mixed way. And like I also, whenever I played like the Diablo games pretty heavy, I loved playing a necromancer type character where you just summon from dead bodies a bunch of like enemies, and so you just have all your different little minions fighting for you, and then you kind of do whatever you want while they take care of the bad guys for you. And I just love that type of gameplay. And then like the puzzles that they put in this game are incredible. I thought they would be a little bit one note due to you just summoning like different echoes, but it's like the variety has been like really awesome to see. And then the variety within the echoes, how you solve those puzzles is just mind-boggling, how they even could conceive of these puzzles. And like Gretzo really just like knocked it out of the park. And I'm upset that I waited for so long to play it, but I'm so glad that it is as good as I wanted it to be. But yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Man, such a good game. I played through Alan Wake 2 a couple of months ago. Love that game. I've been really spending a lot of time learning about Remedy, and I'm replaying Control. And with DLSS, that like they came out with the DLSS 4.0 on PC, and I'm replaying that. And then I'll play Quantum Break after that, and just very excited to see what Remedy does with their expanded universe of games.
Me too. I need to go back to my Remedy playthrough. I was doing the same thing.
God, it's so fucking good. They're just doing so much cool shit. And Sam Lake is like so just such a fun game design.
Yeah. Hopefully we finally get Control on Switch 2 that is not a cloud version.
Sorry, best I can do is $80 cloud version.
Oh my gosh, kill me.
What about you, Summer?
Yeah, I have been playing Transistor, which is another game by Supergiant Games. It was the second game that they made after Bastion. So I, already owned it like when it went on sale, but there's a game club that I'm in that it's currently being voted on as something that we'll play next. And I was like, I might as well go ahead and start it on my flight. It's visually gorgeous. Audio design is incredible. I'm mixed on the gameplay. It feels a little, but I think that's also by design. The whole point of it is that you are doing combat with a giant sword with somebody who is not meant for combat. The whole, like, she is a singer, and suddenly she is lugging around a giant sword and doing all of these upgrades with other people's consciousnesses without like spoiling a lot of it, because it is very fascinating and like contained within itself. Like if you haven't been spoiled on it, like I haven't been, really interesting experience. I'm going to continue to play it. Like it's not a super long game from what I understand. So definitely like aesthetically and just artfully interesting experience for sure.
Oh yeah.
That's it. We did it.
We freaking did it.
You can really tell we've been streaming for 3 hours because all our voices have gotten really low. And
Really low.
Well, thank you to
night.
everyone. Thank you to everyone who came to chat and showed up. We'll do our normal thing. Thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon. If you're looking for me, you can find me online as PDYX.
You can find me everywhere at Weebwitched.
You can find me online at Bordan.
I don't know where to. I'm not really online much, so I don't know. If I mean, join the Discord. Fuck it, just join the Discord. At me, and I'll make an emoji for you. I don't fucking know.
Very good.
You're better
Very
for
good.
it.
You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Blue Sky and Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We got a website, that's switchheads.com, and we have a Patreon, like Patrick has mentioned. We've got a Facebook group. I think that thing's still kicking. We also have our Discord, like we have talked about, which is really the center of the Switch Heads community. We would love to have you guys join on the Discord. If you're in the live stream right now and you're not on the Discord, what are you doing? We got links in the descriptions of this episode and on all of our episodes. So we would love to have you in there. It's, if you can't tell already, it is one of the greatest, most non-toxic communities of gamers on the internet. I love it so much, and I wouldn't be around if I didn't have it, or I certainly wouldn't be doing a podcast. You guys make it really easy to continue to do this thing day in and day out. So thank you guys so much for that. Wow, we did it. This is officially the longest episode ever of Super Switch Headz. Thank you guys so much. If you've been sticking around until the very end, or if you dipped in or dipped out, anybody who tuned in for this live stream right now, thank you so much. And if you're listening after the fact, thank you so much for listening to us break down these two directs, talk about the podcast. I can't wait for what the future holds. I do want to say, Patrick, we're going to miss you. We love you so much. I will be asking you to come back on the podcast more often than you probably will want to, but I hope you say yes every time. But yeah, other than that, guys, you guys know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Free Palestine. Free Luigi. And here's to 300 more episodes. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.